Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 118. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we have a jam-packed episode. We are talking about Barbenheimer, Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Nintendo's next console, Sonic Superstars, Spider-Man movies, My Adventures with Superman, Secret Invasion, Pikmin 4, and more. But as usual, we're going to start with our recent activities, which is pretty much everything we have been doing within gaming, movies, entertainment, whatever, within the past 2 weeks. So first, I will let Damian take the lead.
Yeah, so, I've been going through all the Pikmin games. Obviously, we're going to talk about Pikmin 4 a little later. But, I went through Pikmin 3 because that was the next one. And yeah, the Pikmin 3, before Pikmin 4, was probably my favorite one. Obviously just streamlined a lot of things that Pikmin 1 and 2 had issues with. The controls are a lot better. Obviously, the game looks great still. It's only 720p still. I don't think they up-resed it for the Switch version. But I think the game still looks good. The 3 captains makes, micromanaging all your stuff really cool. And I still think Pikmin 3 has the best overworld stuff, even after playing 4. I think 3 just really nails, just that Pikmin 1 feeling more than any other game, I guess, besides the first one. And yeah, it's great. My only complaint is it's very short. By the time I finished it, it's over. I think it took me 8 hours to beat it. So yeah, slightly longer than Pikmin 1, but nowhere near as long as 2 or 4 is. So I could understand if you feel a little gypped in terms of content, but this version does include all of the mission modes, including the DLC from the Wii U version. So there's 32 missions or something, and those are really fun. And they also added this DLC Olimar story thing that's I think it's 14 missions or something. I think. Yeah, it's 14 missions. So you have 4 missions that's telling what happened before Pikmin 3, and then you have 10 missions showing what happens after Pikmin 3. It's not a lot of story stuff. I mean, I don't really care about the story of Pikmin in general. It's nice, and I like the recurring characters and stuff, but it's nothing that crazy.
Yeah.
It's mostly just more gameplay and stuff, and it's mostly just remix mission mode stuff. Just you play as Olimar and Louie. And that's cool. There's some pretty creative missions. Not all just collect stuff or kill a bunch of monsters like the other mission mode stuff. It does have some unique objectives, and they were a ton of fun to play through. They were pretty easy. I feel like they were more like a stepping stone. You play these, then you do the mission modes, because those missions are a lot harder than the Olimar stuff. But overall, Pikmin 3 is a very solid time. I think it's, with all that content, I do think it is worth how much it is now. I think it's 50 or something. I don't know. But Pikmin 3, before Pikmin 4, I think was my favorite one. But I think Pikmin 4 definitely takes that title now because it's very good. But yeah, Pikmin 3, really good game. I can see why people really enjoyed it when it came out 10 years ago, which is crazy at this point.
Yes.
But yeah, very polished game, really good. I think the Switch version has some nice new content in it. And yeah, if you want to play through all the Pikmin games, I highly recommend it I did, because the series is really good. And I'll talk more about that when we talk about Pikmin 4. So next, I was playing some live servicey type stuff. Final Fantasy XIV. They had the Fan Fest recently that showed a new expansion, so that made me want to play it some more. I actually haven't played 14 in a few months because so many other games have been out and I'm just kind of been busy. So I haven't played it for half a year at this point, which feels weird because I'm usually on top of it. But the new expansion really made me want to go back into it. It looks great. I'm gonna add a new mage job, and I love mages in that game. And yeah, I've just been having a good time. Not much else to say because, it's 14. I already talked about this game way too much. But yeah, game's still great. Very excited for the new expansion. And next is a game that has came back into my life, Team Fortress 2. So they released a summer update, I think a month ago at this point. It was early July it came out. And I didn't really notice it until people started making videos about it again. Star and Germa used to be really big TF2 YouTubers, and they both were doing some TF2 stuff. What the fuck? Why are they doing TF2 stuff? And then summer update, what? So for a brief history, I love this game. This game I played since it went free to play in 2011, and I played it pretty consistently until 2016 when the Meet Your Match update came out, and that basically ruined the game. And also moved on to Overwatch and stuff. I was just kind of, all the YouTubers were leaving TF2. It felt kind of like a dying game, so I just left it. But after coming back to it now, 7 years later, I still know why TF2 was probably still is my favorite first-person shooter ever, because it just feels really good. It's just a really good game. I feel no other game really has that same fun factor TF2 has. you could do so much crazy stuff within the game. You know, Soldier's my favorite class of that game, and yeah, you could be able to rocket jump and kill a bunch of people. I think the game just has a lot of deep mechanics that takes like so many hours to learn and stuff. Same thing with every other class, but like Soldier is like my favorite just for that reason. Also, like, I don't know, it's just something about it just feels so good to play after all these years. Like, I think because Overwatch is very reliant on like teams and stuff, and TF2 is too, but you could just solo like any like server you're on. I've gone like 10 kill streaks. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't need no medic. You don't need like a mercy pocking you. You don't need like a bunch of ults to do anything. You could just do it. You know what I mean? And it feels so good just to kill a bunch of people without having to worry about abilities. There's some bullshit in the game like there always is. But you know, you can't have like a Sombra like, I'm just gonna translocate her out, or I'm just gonna do this bullshit that sucks. I'm like, okay, like if I see someone, you could basically kill them, and that feels really good. And yeah, I don't know, the game just, I guess I'm just so used to abilities being such an important part in games now that not having any like actually does like make it a bit more enjoyable. Like, you know, I think abilities are cool to like make the game feel fresh and stuff, but I think different weapons and loadouts also do that same thing while having like these like huge game-changing abilities, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, it's nice to play something that's pretty simple, and I've been having a good time playing TF2 again. I don't know how long it's gonna last. Like, I don't know if Valve is actually gonna care about this game again. They did do a good job with cleaning up the bots because the game was like infected with a bunch of like hacker bots, and it sucked for a while. But and I haven't noticed from like the 15 hours I've been playing recently. So yeah, we'll see how much Valve actually gives a shit about this game now. The game shot up to its highest player count ever also during this update. It went from like usually it's like 100,000 players playing at any given time. It went up to like 250,000, which is insane. So yeah, I don't know. The game is great. Hopefully Valve actually cares. I love this game, and now I like remember why I loved it so much. So yeah, hopefully Valve is actually good and updates it some more, because you know, the game is old, but it's still fucking great. So yeah.
Yeah, crazy to see that game making its way back into the I guess ecosystem of free to play service games and shit like that.
Yeah, that game is old as shit. Some people have been playing like 5 years ago, and they've never experienced a major update before, which is insane to me. Like when I was playing, it was like a major update every other month. So yeah, it's kind of sad times. But hopefully Valve again actually makes updates, or make a Source 2, TF2. I guess it doesn't have to be TF3. If you just did what CS:GO is doing and just port it to Source 2, I'll be very happy. But I guess we'll see.
Only time will tell.
Yep.
Moving on, I have a bunch of movies that I have been seeing because movies are fucking back. So first up, the Barben Oppenheimer bullshit. I did it literally the day after we recorded the podcast. It was pretty eventful, I will say. I mean, if you're following the news on these movies, you're seeing that they are breaking box office numbers left and right, especially Barbie. But first, let's talk about Oppenheimer, because that is the film that I saw first. It is very good. I think that this is one of Christopher Nolan's best films, and also one of his more unique ones. It's a biopic about the guy named Oppenheimer, who pretty much made the atomic bomb that bombed Japan. So yeah, you're pretty much seeing his story, and the film goes from color to black and white, and the black and white is supposed to be more of like actual like history stuff, I believe, and the color stuff is from Oppenheimer's perspective of things. That's from my interpretation of it. I'm pretty sure that's actually what it is, but the movie itself, it's fucking 3 hours long. There's a lot of information that they're dumping at you. There's a lot of characters to follow. So it definitely warrants a rewatch, which I feel like most Christopher Nolan movies really do need a rewatch. I still remember when Inception came out and no one knew what the fuck was happening, but it was a good film. And, you know, now years after, people understand what Inception is. I feel like Oppenheimer isn't to that extreme, but I feel like a second watch is like needed to like really understand everything that's happening, because there are a bunch of set pieces and a bunch of scenes that are like impactful and very meaningful. And I think that rewatching those scenes with the context of like knowing everything that happens is going to be very good. I haven't really had the time to, you know, cut out 4 hours of my day, because really it is like 4 hours that you're cutting out to see this movie of your day. But yeah, I mean, it's worth it. I definitely recommend seeing it in IMAX, because when they did the bomb, obviously, it was fucking like insane. I was like, holy shit. And there's other moments within the film that they use sound in like very interesting and cool ways. So Definitely recommend seeing this in IMAX. If you have one of those really good IMAX theaters near you, I believe it's like 44 mil or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Good luck, because apparently it's like sold out everywhere. The one within New York City has been fucking booked for a while, so probably not going to see it in that, but I definitely want to see it one more time within theaters, whether in IMAX, Dolby Cinema. I don't really care. Then I saw Barbie right after, sort of like an hour or two after that. And Barbie is a very good film, in my opinion. I think that people that are really not liking it or not really getting it, that's their opinion, obviously. I think that people that are saying that it's woke, I mean, like, they're not necessarily wrong, but I think it is a good thing that this movie is really tackling sort of like the Barbie world of like all of the girls, being like, I'm Barbie, I could do whatever the fuck I want. And then in reality, it's like, it's not how it is. So, that's sort of like social commentary is very much well done. And I think that both Barbie and Ken have very nice story arcs. Obviously, Barbie more so because she is like the main character. The movie is very funny. I think that is like the biggest thing for me is that like it was fucking hilarious and like it was really clever with its jokes. Obviously, the movie looks visually pleasing because it's a bunch of colors and a bunch of things going on. So, yeah, I mean, I think that Barbie, like, as a movie is like a huge thing for just cinema and also just like the female audience in general, because I feel like movies are targeted towards men mainly. And this is the first movie that girlies and girlfriends can, go out with each other and, see it together and like get all dressed up, wear pink and shit like that. And it's fucking great. I mean, like, when I went to go see Ninja Turtles, there were still people doing that with their friends, family, whoever, wearing pink and trying to go see Barbie. And it's awesome. I love it. And I think that, the fact that it is doing so well within the box office, even the weekend after it came out, is like telling that this movie is going to be fucking huge. And it's 100% going to cross 1 billion by the end of this weekend. And it's going to make even more by the time it ends its theatrical run. So, yeah, if you want to go and see one of these movies or even both of them, I highly recommend it. Barbie is a lot more obviously like consumable because it's not fucking 3 hours long and it's not like a biopic right. throwing a bunch of information at you. If you just want to watch a fun, funny movie, Barbie's definitely that. But Oppenheimer is still good within its own right, and I'm glad that both of these movies came out at the same time and sort of like that trend of Barbenheimer sort of took off because really, the trend itself is elevating Oppenheimer to do a lot better than it had any right to do, just because, Christopher Nolan films don't necessarily do these box office numbers ever. And, because right. of this trend and everything like that. And people are trying to like emulate it with like other movies coming out later this year. Don't, just let it happen naturally and let the internet sort of do its thing. Because people are trying to do like Saw and fucking Paw Patrol, but no one's going to watch Paw Patrol.
No one's going to watch fucking Paw Patrol.
So, but yeah, both very good movies. Highly recommend seeing them, especially when they are still in theaters right now. Next movie I saw was The Next Day, Grave of the Fireflies. This is a Studio Ghibli movie released in 1988. My girlfriend.
That's a sad one.
Yes, this shit is fucking depressing. So this is pretty much the other side of the Japan bombings and just seeing what happens to this one family within Japan and sort of what happens as they're trying to run from bombings from the U.S. and shit like that, and just how their story progresses. And yeah, it's fucking depressing. I don't know if I would rewatch it again, honestly. Yeah. Like, it is just so fucking sad. Like, I wasn't even like crying. I was just like, just sitting there, just like, man, like I just worked like a fucking 8-hour shift the other a few hours ago or whatever, and I'm just sitting here watching this movie. I'm like, this fucking sucks. Like, this is awful. But it's a very, very good film, and I think everyone should at least watch it at least one time because it is beautiful within just its storytelling. And, this is one of these Studio Ghibli movies that I think a lot of people don't talk about, either because of that or the fact that it's low-key underrated, if you will. But, yeah. Moving on from there, I got another anime movie. It's called The First Slam Dunk. If you guys don't know what Slam Dunk it is a very popular sort of basketball anime manga, whatever. And I have never read or watched an episode of Slam Dunk, but I wanted to watch this movie because I saw that it was doing very, very well. And it is a CG movie as well, so that is like pretty new and pretty sort of foreign to the anime community. You fucking say CG to a anime fan, they're gonna cringe.
What the fuck?
But this movie, it is very, very good. I think that the way that they use the CG, they make it try to look sort of 2D within a sense, but at the same time, they're able to do certain things with the CGI animation that you can't necessarily do with 2D on like a cheaper budget, obviously.
Right.
It still looks good. It still looks great. This movie tells the slam dunk story from a different perspective from like the main character, and it is very, very good. I think that this is like, you know, if you love like sports anime, like fucking Haikyuu, Blue Lock, anything like that, watch Slam Dunk. Like, it is so exciting watching because like it follows a single match, but in between like sequences, you'll get like flashbacks and like backstory on like certain characters and everything like that, and it is so much fun. You know, I loved watching this film, and honestly, I kind of want to read Slam Dunk. I only have the first 2 volumes, so maybe I'll try to, you know, read the rest on the Viz Media app. Maybe, I don't know. I'll figure a way out to go and read the rest of it, because Slam Dunk is very, very good. And you know, if you want to get into it with this movie, I can recommend it that way, because that's pretty much how I'm getting into Slam Dunk, and it is very, very good. Next movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I saw this in theaters. I saw it with like the early sort of screening on, I think, Wednesday or something like that. Anyways, I saw it a few days earlier from its August 3rd release date, and it is very, very good. I fucking love this movie. I love this iteration of the Turtles because they're actually teenagers. I mean, I fucking bought this goddamn popcorn bucket. I fucking bought this shit. It came with like a mask or whatever. Yes. You know, I was so ready to just sit down and watch this movie and see how it you know takes the sort of art style of Spider-Verse and sort of transforms it into this Ninja Turtles style movie where they're actually fucking teenagers, and that is what this movie is. It is a brand new iteration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with them as teenagers, and they're sort of going through the motions of like, we want to go, you know, be with the humans and sort of be with them and sort of, you know, do what they're doing instead of like hiding in the shadows or whatever, because they're fucking teenagers. They want a social life. They want to do things. They want to do you know, have fun pretty much. And, you know, Master Splinter, you know, the whole backstory with them in this movie, you know, it is explained very, very well. Every single character, not just the turtles, are very well characterized. And I think that this movie has a very strong message of just like family and sort of like how, you know, certain upbringings and certain things like that sort of make you who you are. And I think that this movie is very, very good. I definitely am going to see it again. I'm going to see it next Wednesday. And I cannot wait to rewatch it again because I was honestly having so much fun. It is also very, very funny. I think maybe some of the jokes were a little too much. I think that's like a major complaint with a lot of people is that like there's too many jokes, which is like, you know, understandable because like I feel like my theater missed some of them because like they were like quick one-liners and I was just like, that was funny. And I'm like the only one laughing. And there's also like a lot of like pop culture references. So I think that will age poorly as time goes on. But still, I love this movie. They're going to make a sequel. They're going to make a cartoon show with these voice actors. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see the Ninja Turtles fucking come back because I love the 2003 series and that's sort of what I grew up with. And is seeing them rebrought back within this fashion is amazing.
Yeah, that's good to hear because you know I was you know whenever I saw the trailers for it, I'm like, this looks really good. I hope it is good, and you know on Rotten Tomatoes is doing really well, and you know
yes.
Their opinion is just so yeah. I probably will try to make sense. I mean I didn't watch Barbie as well and Oppenheimer, so there's a lot, and movies are expensive, so
yes.
we'll see. But I do want to watch all of these movies because they all sound great, especially TMNT because I think the art style looks fucking incredible, and now that I'm hearing that it's actually like good story and plot wise and character wise, that makes me a lot more excited to watch it. So yeah, it looks really good.
Not an ad, but you know, just get A-list for the month and then just see all 3 movies that week, and you only pay $25.
Travis is single-handedly holding the movie industry on his back right now. The theater business, anyway. He is.
Hey, look, man. Like this shit. $30. I don't care. It came with a cup. It came with a cup with the with like Leo, and I also got the mask. You know. Anyways, you know, movies are back. I fucking love going to the movies, even though it is a little expensive with the snacks or whatever. But that's just how the industry stays afloat. But anyways, last movie we got here is The Whale. This was making a lot of splashes during the Academy Awards this past year. And I did not see it because I was just like, it looks cool. It's A24, you know, but I'm not sure if that was up my alley. But after it won everything, you know, Brendan Fraser, Best Actor. I mean, he does perform really, really well in this movie. It's a very interesting movie because I feel like when I was looking at like the Letterboxd reviews, a lot of people were fucking hating on it. So, you know, definitely like rent it. Maybe, you know, see exactly if it is your cup of tea. But pretty much it is a story about a man who made some mistakes and certain things happened within his life that made him the way he is, and you sort of slowly learn about what happened within his past, sort of how that affected other people within his life, how that's affecting his current relationships and sort of his current job and everything like that. So, you know, I don't want to give away too much because I feel like a movie like like this that's like sort of quote unquote artsy, if you will. I don't really want to talk about it all that much, but it is good in my opinion. It's definitely like a 4 stars kind of thing. But to those people that are saying that it's like a 1 or 2, I don't know. Maybe we're watching 2 completely different movies. But yeah, I think that if you just let yourself sort of get immersed within like what the movie is trying to show and tell you, it can be, a pretty cool experience. It is all done within 4:3 as well, which is like, I guess like an artsy sort of move for them to do. But
interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've been doing other than Pikmin 4, which has consumed 20 hours of my life within the past 2 weeks. But we'll talk about that at the end of the show. So first, let's talk about the gaming news. The first thing we're going to talk about is something that is a little old at this point, but, it happened literally the day after
Right after.
Yeah, it literally happened later that day after we recorded the podcast, and that is the Marvel Spider-Man 2 story trailer. I've watched this shit 20 times over because I cannot wait for this game, and I'm glad that we are getting a better idea of what this story has to offer. We get to see the new Peter Parker model in action. We get to see Harry actually in the game, which is fucking cool. We get to see the new Mary Jane model as well. Miles' haircut. There's a lot of things to talk about within this only 2-minute trailer. But just like overall, I'm fucking excited for this game. And I loved what sort of Insomniac was able to pull together for this trailer. Because every single time I watch it, I'm just like, I'm so engrossed in it with like the music, the sort of shots that they give us, everything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks great as well. I obviously we both loved the 2018 game, and I've always really enjoyed what Insomniac was doing with like the story and stuff, because it's sort of like similar beats what we're used to, but they try to remix it enough where it's like still interesting to like fans that have been fans of Spider-Man forever, because we all know some things are always going to happen or things going to end up this way, but Insomniac likes to like sort of like twist on its head a bit to like keep veteran fans on guard and stuff. And I think they've already said that they're going to try to be doing the same thing, especially with Venom and stuff. There's a lot of interesting things with Peter's going through his black suit arc and stuff, and we see like Mary Jane getting all scared because Peter's like fucking not himself. Speaking of Mary Jane, I think she looks good. I know some people were complaining. People always like to complain whenever they change like anything. I think Mary Jane looks good. Miles looks good as well. I think they all look fine. I've never been a big person to hate on the new Peter model. Like I just like it's whatever. If anything, it does feel a bit better now that it's just like in its own game now.
Yes,
I can see how it's jarring in the first game because you were used to looking at the PS4 Peter, but with this being a sequel, it's like it kind of like makes it look a bit less awkward, I guess. But yeah, besides that, we see a lot of crazy things happening. Like you said, like we have Harry here. We see more of like Craven stuff. I think Negative, Mr. Negative was here as well, I think. Yeah. So
yes, I wonder how that interaction is going to play out, because
that's cool. Yeah, because I like it when they don't just abandon villains like that. Like they actually like bring them back and stuff. Because he has like a lot of things with Miles and stuff. If you played the 2018 game, so it's kind of cool to see like how that interaction would go, because we never really got that. So a lot of really interesting stuff here for like the story wise.
Yeah, I mean, just everything with this trailer, like I said, it gave everyone like a better idea of what's going to happen. And I think that opening the trailer with Harry and then ending it with Venom saying we're going to heal the world, that could then be baiting, saying like, hey, is Harry actually Venom? I think that is like the main theory going around that a lot of people are in agreement with, like, including myself. But people were going back to like past trailers for the first game and being like, maybe they were baiting or whatever, because apparently some people thought that it wasn't Doc Ock. It was actually Green Goblin as like the Sinister Six member, which I was like, it's a little like too far off in my opinion. That was like a little bit extreme, because the moment I booted up the 2018 game and I saw Dr. Octavius, I was like, he's gonna fucking turn Doc Ock, this motherfucker. So I guess like once we actually get our hands on the game, we'll see a better idea. But Damian, who do you think Venom actually is?
I mean, I said it was Harry right from like the end credits of the 2018 game. Like, I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna be Venom. Like I was literally like, I'm on that camp since I finished 2018. So like, I'm still believe it. It feel kind of weird to like do a huge bait and switch after like this much. Like I don't know who else it would even be at that point. My other theory would just be like Peter at this point, but I highly doubt that's gonna happen. I feel like anyone else would be kind of like weird. I mean, like again, Eddie Brock is like not established yet in this series. I don't believe so. I don't know if he had like one bit of dialogue in the first game. I don't believe so. So yeah, Eddie Brock is like not Venom in this one. And if it's like Kraven, that'd be fucking weird. Like I don't know who cares about that. It looks like Kraven's gonna be doing his own thing. So yeah, I'm full on Harry. I've been on Harry's being Venom since like I finished the first game. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this story trailer just really gives me everything that I, want. And the fact that they dropped it July 20th, which is only a few months out from October 20th, when the game will officially release exclusively on the PlayStation 5. So, yeah, I just cannot wait to actually get my hands on this game. I'm sure we're going to get a little bit more coverage in between now and the release date. But yeah, everything that this trailer gave us, it just gave us enough to really get us excited for Marvel Spider-Man 2. So yeah, I cannot wait to see how big of a role Harry actually plays within the story, because within the first game he's pretty much fucking non-existent. And after reading some of the City That Never Sleeps novel, I can see their relationship sort of form there. But obviously this game is going to be where people are going to really know who Harry Osborn is within this universe.
Yeah, our hope is there's no Mary Jane parts. I like Mary Jane, I just don't like playing as her.
Maybe if they do like horror sequences.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, but yeah, hopefully the game is great. I think it is, because I love a Soniac. I'm a simp for them. So and Spider-Man, so they can't go wrong.
Yeah.
All right. So next, we finally, after years of people saying Switch 2, Nintendo is reportedly having plans to release the next-gen console during the second half of 2024. So this still isn't confirmed, but it's been a lot more believable now. A lot of devs have been saying they're getting the new dev kits. A lot more things have just been coming out at this point. I mean, it's basically time for a new next-gen Nintendo console anyway. I thought this year would be a pretty quiet year for the Switch, besides Tears of the Kingdom, but I was proven fucking wrong. Like, I was expecting like a Twilight year sort of thing for the Switch, where it's just like, oh, we got Tears of the Kingdom, which is amazing, but like that'll be about it. But again, we got Pikmin 4, we have Mario Wonder coming out later, we have Mario RPG Remake as well coming later this year. So yeah, the Switch has really gone out with a bang, and has honestly, I think, been the best Nintendo console ever. Like, I feel like people still try to be like, oh, but the GameCube. I'm like, nah. I really think the Switch, it really is the best Nintendo console like they've ever done. Which is insane. They released so many bangers. But anyway, so this next generation of Switch is supposed to come out later half of next year. There's been some controversy because apparently it's rumored that they're on the fence of adding backwards compatibility, which would be really dumb, especially if they are going to use cartridges again. I see no reason why it shouldn't be backwards compatible. I still remember when the PS4 came out, I was like pissed I couldn't play PS3 games, because I'm like, why?
Yeah.
So I feel like Nintendo really should just make it backwards compatible, because, it really helps the library out as well. So if someone wants to get Switch 2, they can still play all the cool, Switch games that came out before it. So yeah, backwards compatibility is always a good thing. Also, it's supposed to be like, obviously it's supposed to be a bit stronger and stuff. Don't expect it to be PS5 levels of strong or anything, but I'm hoping it's at least like a PS4 Pro level of strong, because the Switch is very outdated hardware at this point, and yeah, it would be cool if it wasn't like a toaster. Also, apparently they want to just make a bunch of them. Like, they want to make sure like the stock doesn't go down once they actually do release it, so like everyone could get one, which is nice. Because yeah, I mean, we were, when the Switch first came out, no one really cared because the Wii U sucked so bad. But I'm like, I'm a Nintendo fan, so I'm gonna buy it anyway. And then it sold like hotcakes afterward. So obviously now people know the Switch is pretty like cool, so like people are gonna be buying that shit and scalping it like nonstop. Yes. So yeah, I'm happy that Nintendo is doing that. But yeah, I'm excited for the next generation of Nintendo consoles. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I covered some rumors for Fandom Wire to talk about the Nintendo Switch next generation, or whatever the fuck it's going to be called. But yeah, I mean, the fact that the Switch is 6 years old and we're still getting games for it, and there's still really, really good games. I think that Nintendo, I'll talk about this again during my Pikmin 4 stuff, but Nintendo games are the only games where I put them in and I can instantly boot them up. No day one patch, no update, no nothing. I don't got to do anything like that, which is like
Yeah.
really nice. You know, I did
They're
that with
insanely
Pikmin 4.
polished. Yeah.
Yes, I did that with Pikmin 4. I did that with Yoshi's Crafted World, something like that on the Switch. So, you know, every single time I get a new Nintendo Switch game, 9 times out of 10, especially if it's a first party game, I don't have to do a day one update. But, you know, when it comes to this new Nintendo Switch, you know, the Switch has been out for like over 6 years now. And the fact that we're getting, you know, rumors and actually, you know, solid, I guess, like speculation of like what's happening with the next generation, and it'll come out sometime next year, second half. I think that is like a fine release window. You know, they did announce that they're going to do Luigi's Mansion 3 or Luigi's Mansion 2 remake and then a new Princess Peach game. So I'm not exactly sure where those will line up, but I think that if they're going to just stick with like a Nintendo Switch 2, Super Nintendo Switch, whatever the fuck, that is like very smart of them to do and make sure that it is backwards compatible. I think that is, you know, sort of like a must because you're going to be losing this whole library of Switch games from like the past 6 years. And I think that a lot of people, you know, maybe want to get into Nintendo games when this new console comes out if they don't already have a Switch, which is, you know, a Switch is already affordable as is. But maybe with this new news and rumors, you know, some people may be holding out on it a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, does Nintendo need to compete with Xbox and PlayStation? Hell no. You know, they've always been in their own lane for the longest time, and it's worked out in their favor for the most part, except for the Wii U. But I think that with the Nintendo Switch, they've really found something that really works for them. And I think that whatever this new generation console brings for, you know, specs or whatever, I think that it will be nice. You know, whatever it is, you know, I'm not expecting 60 FPS sort of gameplay, but I'm expecting, you know, games to look and perform a little prettier. You know, the fucking load times of Pikmin 4 were like the biggest egregious thing.
Yeah. Actually, like, it made me like, because I play a lot on my PS5. I'm like, oh yeah, I could look at my phone when loading screens are happening again. Like, because like, you know, in newer games, like everything's on SSDs and stuff. So like you just load into the game and that's it. With Pikmin, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I used to just go on my phone when it was loading. I forgot about that. But yeah, hopefully, you know, faster loading times. I want just consistent 30 frames. That would be nice at least. Like I said, I'm not expecting ray tracing or 60 FPS or anything too crazy. I'm just expecting more solid performance than what we have now. That doesn't really apply to Pikmin because I think Pikmin performed really well. But, you know, things like Tears of the Kingdom, but it could be pretty iffy on its frame rate a lot of the time. And a lot of other Nintendo games as well. But yeah, hopefully the Switch just enhances what is already good about the Switch and then it'll do too much weird shit. Like, I don't want like, I don't know, like another Wii U situation. It's like, here's like a weird gimmick for no reason. And then it's like everyone's confused and stuff. Like, just call it the Switch 2, make it more powerful, and then we're good. Everyone loves the gimmick of being able to pick it up and go anywhere or just leave it docked like I do. Like, I think that's good enough. You know, a lot of people like that. So just leave it as is. So,
yeah.
I guess we'll see whenever they start showing this thing, but you know, hopefully we could get it without too much issues because that's my major like anxiety driven thing right now. Like I hate going through this.
Yeah, getting a console day one, you know, it may not be the best financial decision just because, you know, the launch games are never there, but you know, just trying to find it after that, it's always a fucking pain.
I know. I just like to get out of the way, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully, you know, the Joy-Cons are, you know, maybe solved.
Not shit. Oh, yeah. Joy-Cons are so bad.
Yeah, they are awful. But moving on from there, we got some new Fortnite collaborations. We got Futurama and Jujutsu Kaisen are now coming to Fortnite. So,
dude, I bought all the Futurama shit.
Yeah,
like,
I
was
saw
like $30.
that.
Yeah, I bought it and just didn't play the game because I wanted that. I fucking love Futurama, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, once again, Epic Games keeps delivering with collaborations, and I think that these newest ones are just, you know, just to show that Fortnite is not really going anywhere. You know, I think me and you haven't really played this season a whole bunch just because
not too much. Yeah,
you know, it doesn't feel you know as good as like the previous seasons with like all of the movement options or whatever.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's the thing that really killed this season for me. Like I got too used to the mobility, so I just feel like molasses. Like I'm like, where's my mobility? So yeah.
Yeah, but you know, these are definitely two very cool collaborations that they are bringing to Fortnite. Hopefully they're still in the shop. I know that they're obviously going to rotate stuff out here and there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, they look pretty good. I think, what's his face? Not Gojo, the guy next to Gojo. I'm forgetting his name.
Megami?
Yeah, he looks a little crusty. Everyone else looks pretty good. But yeah. All right, so next we got a bunch of Sonic Superstars sort of coverage from Game Informer to kind of go over more of the Emerald powers. So this is like kind of like the new gimmick. So I guess you could think of it like Wisp powers, but not really because you have to get the Emerald and stuff. And I actually think this is kind of cool to make like the Chaos Emeralds kind of stick out more because I guess in lore or whatever, the only thing every Chaos Emerald could, I guess, use Chaos Control and shit only if you're Shadow, and that's about it. And you can go Super when you have all 7. That's usually what they do. But this one, each color does its own thing. So the blue one does the thing where you have a bunch of like Knuckles or Sonics everywhere. Like we saw that in the trailer. The red one is sort of like the red shield, like from Sonic 3. We could do like a little burst of like, I guess it's not really a homing attack. It's more like you just get like a dash jump, I guess. Water, we also saw in the trailer, you could like swim around. Ivy or the green emerald, you could like, I guess, put up a giant thing of ivy and like leaf and like climb up to get secret areas and stuff. Vision, you could see through floors and get more rings and secret passages. The yellow emerald is slowing down time, which sounds kind of cool. And then the white emerald is just extra, so everyone gets like a different move, right? So Sonic do his homing attack, Amy could throw a hammer, Knuckles could punch, which is weird that he couldn't do that to begin with. And Tails could use a tornado spin, which I guess he just kind of like, goes around in a tornado. And then obviously if you get all 7, you could go super, and everyone has their own super form. I know some people were kind of disappointed Amy doesn't turn yellow, she just turns lighter pink, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, these Emerald powers are all pretty cool. I think that the fact that now we know what all of the Emeralds are sort of going to do. I wonder exactly what order they're going to be in because that wasn't revealed within this article in particular. But yeah, I think that all of these powers have their own sort of uses for them, whether it's to, 100% complete the game or just, find extra collectibles, defeat enemies, make it easier for yourself against bosses, whatever, like you said, the emeralds before were kind of just like, you got one, now you got to get all the other ones to go and turn super. But now every single one has their own unique power and their own unique ability. And I think that they're all going to, have their own uses for them. And they're on like a cooldown, so don't be afraid to use them during your playthrough. It's not like you use it once during the level and then you can't use it at all for the rest of it. It is on a cooldown of some sort. And some of them, they obviously thought about like some of these, especially like the collectible ones like Vision. Like you're not gonna have to like walk around and like guess when to use it. I guess something will happen either in the game or like a sound effect or whatever, and you'll know when to use Vision to find extra rings or find more platforms or whatever. So yeah, definitely very cool for them to actually give us a complete list of all of the Emerald powers.
Yeah, I do wonder if it I guess it'll open up the game to be more like, it encourages you to go back to certain zones and stuff, because obviously you won't have like Vision when you first play the game, but maybe that first zone will have things to use that ability in, so maybe it encourages you to go back and look for collectibles, which is I don't really think something Sonic has ever really done before. Like you're supposed to just go fast and you do the special stages as you go, and that's about it. So that's pretty interesting. That's something Sonic doesn't really do too often in the 2D games anyway.
Okay, so next bit of the Game Informer coverage we got is pretty much, I think, like their biggest story is pretty much why didn't Sonic Mania 2 happen? I think that a lot of people were looking at this game and being like, this is just Sonic Mania 2, but without the original development team. So it looks like, according to this story, that there were talks of Sonic Mania 2, but nothing actually happened. Like they didn't actually like start developing it. And Christian Whitehead, who now formed Evening Star, which their first game is Penny's Big Breakaway, which we saw during the last Nintendo Direct. It
looks great,
it looked pretty impressive for a 3D platformer. So, they just went their separate ways. There's no like bad blood between them because I guess the Sonic community sort of like painted like this picture of them being like, oh my god, they fucking hate each other. They can't work with Sega anymore. Yada yada yada.
That was a big rumor. Yeah, I've always heard that. Yeah,
it just looked like that they just had different ideas of what they wanted to do for the next 2D Sonic game anyways, and it looks like Christian Whitehead wanted to do something else entirely, not just with Sonic, but obviously their brand new game. So yeah, it is just nice for them to actually like clear the air, because I know how the fucking Sonic fandom and the Sonic community can be, especially with rumors and speculation like this. So yeah, I think that this piece was necessary for them to really like clear the air to make sure that, hey, fans, like, we're not stepping on Sonic Mania 2, because Sonic Mania 2 wasn't necessarily like a thing really, because I feel like that there might have been like a small part of the community that might have boycotted it because like we didn't get Sonic Mania 2 and we're getting this piece of shit or whatever. So
Yeah, apparently, like, Sega and Christian Writer had, like, they both want to do something 3D. Like, they didn't want to just make a Mania 2, which is, like, same pixel, like, art and stuff. Even though it looks great, like, Mania is a really good-looking game. It seemed like they both wanted to do something different. And, it just led to him making his own studio, which is great. I think it's always good when developers can sort of break away from what, inspire them to make their own IP and stuff. Sometimes it can end up badly or sometimes it can end up good. So, but it's always good for creators to do that. And, it looks like Sega really did want to move away from, the pixelated graphics and stuff and wanted to go into something more 2.5D, something with more production value and stuff, which is why, Sonic Superstars is like a full price game, is because, they wanted to make it like a bigger experience, but, which is good. I think having a beefier classic Sonic game sounds like a good time. And yeah, it's, I like it when they're not too stuck to making like these classic games, like just pixelated. Same thing with like Mega Man. Like, I was afraid that, Mega Man 11 is, here's another pixel Mega Man game, but they ended up going for that 2.5D look. And I know it's not for everyone. And even for me, like, sometimes I do think pixel graphics look better than like 2.5D, but I feel like we're up to the point where I think they just look good at this point. Like Mega Man 11 looked great. Sonic Superstars look really good. And I think Mario Wonder looks fantastic. So like, I think we're on our way to making 2.5D games look like just as good as like pixel graphics, so yeah. But yeah, I know that was apparently a big point for sort of making this happen. Yeah, and yeah, hopefully Penny's Big Breakaway is good because it looks great from what we've seen. So yeah. So next we have the show has the first 6 zones, and I'm gonna admit I'm not that impressed with what they showed. So we have Bridge Island Zone, which is basically just, it kind of looks like the first zone in Sonic Heroes. In Sonic Heroes, like the sort of like aquatic thing, Emerald Coast looking thing. So it's basically like basic like first zone material. Second zone is a jungle. Third zone is Sky Temple, not Sky Sanctuary, but Sky Temple. So yeah, it has a lot of motifs that we've kind of seen before. Pinball Carnival is another, casino night type of deal. Lagoon City is kind of like Hydro City or Hydrocity, however you want to say it. I know that's a big thing. Sand Sanctuary, I know, is like Oil Ocean or whatever that zone was called. So a lot of these motifs are things we've seen before. They're just not called that. So that made me a little like, oh, okay. Like they're not the same zones, but they kind of are using the same motifs. So it's kind of whatever. They look beautiful and stuff. Like they look nice from the screenshots, but it's still nothing like too out there, we've seen all these before.
I think that because these are the first 6, I feel like that there's more zones that they're sort of hiding from us for now. That's my copium speaking, but these zones in it of themselves aren't necessarily that impressive, but it's not, you don't have to work that hard to really impress me as like a fucking, Sonic nerd, like all of these look good. They don't look, terrible. I know that they wanted to, stay away from Green Hill Zone because they were like, you guys are fucking tired of it. We're tired of it. So they want to, come up with these new looking zones, these new looking areas, while, still taking some things from the previous zones that we are familiar with and, spinning them around in certain ways, naming them differently, making them look a little different as well. So, I don't mind these. These are the first 6 that we're going to see anyway. So I'm sure that there's going to be more zones in the game, hopefully. Hopefully I'm not eating my words when the game comes out later this year. But, that is what I'm hoping, that these are just the first 6 that they wanted to show us for Game Informer, and that there are more zones that they have in the back that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, all that really matters is like if the level design is good and if it's like fun to go through. Honestly, I'm just glad Chemical Plant is my like least favorite zone. Besides like a marble like zone, like they're both so boring. So I honestly don't mind Green Hill Zone that much or Sky Sanctuary, but I am happy they're at least a little different now. So I guess we'll see how it goes when the full game comes out.
And the last big news thing that they have on Game Informer as of right now for Sonic Superstars is they are talking about the villains. So they renamed Fang the Sniper to Fang the Hunter. I'm not sure if that's going to stick. And then they talked about Trip, sort of just like bringing a brand new character into the Sonic universe and sort of what that's like. Just because, Sonic games are always, usually they introduce one new character. And it looks like Trip, who they refer to as she, is someone with just a bunch of armor. I'm sure that we'll see the full reveal once the game actually does come out. There's going to be leaks. There's going to be shit out there that people are going to, find or whatever. And Yeah, I mean, it is cool that they are introducing, new characters, especially new villains. I feel like that there's always like a new villain sort of ordeal that they're always doing within, especially modern Sonic games. They're always introducing some new fucking villain or whatever.
Yeah.
But it looks like that this time around that they're keeping the stakes low, which is nice. I know that, I'm sure they recognize within the past Sonic games, especially Sonic Forces, they even mentioned with Infinite, they were like, yeah,
War as hell.
you got this big baddie and then it's like, oh, Sonic has to defeat him. But it looks like, now we have Trip, who's just someone that's just, I guess, messing with Sonic and just like trying to get in Sonic's way. So, that seems like a lot of fun. And I think that is like a nice sort of direction that they can take with this sort of classic style Sonic game. Because, for the most part, Sonic games, especially the classic ones, they aren't exactly too heavy on the story or anything like that. So.
Yeah, they're a lot more lighthearted. It'd be weird if we got like, modern Sonic storytelling in a classic Sonic game. That'd be kind of weird. And it's kind of a nice contrast between this and Frontiers, which was more like, a bit more serious, a little more, it's taking itself more seriously and stuff. So having a more lighthearted Sonic game. I know some Sonic fans don't like that. Like apparently there's like a lot of hate for colors and generations now, which I'm just like, why? Yeah. I don't know, dude. Like people, because, I don't know, people getting nostalgic for 06 now, saying it wasn't that bad and colors is actually worse than it. I'm just like, okay, like, it's okay to be wrong. So I'm not saying colors is perfect, but it's whatever. But anyway, it's nice to have a Sonic game that's like, maybe I don't know, it just fits the classic Sonic. I don't want him like doing all his modern Sonic stuff, because then what's the point of having a classic Sonic series and a modern Sonic series? It wouldn't really make much sense. And even in this article, he mentions, where's Shadow? And it's like, well, Shadow is a modern Sonic thing, not a classic Sonic thing. So that wouldn't really make much sense. And I agree with him. I feel like this is to appeal more for the older fans, or more for fans who just like the classic type of Sonic. Bring in all his friends would kind of defeat the purpose. So I do agree with that philosophy there. So it's good to see Fang as well. So
yeah, I mean, if they want to do like a modern 2.5D Sonic game, I think that would be cool. Maybe not like Sonic 4 Episode 1 or anything Sonic like 4? That. Sonic 4? Yeah, nothing like that. But if they want to do a story like that, because obviously Shadow is becoming more popular with the Sonic Prime show. But yeah, we'll see exactly what happens with the future of Sonic. You never know, because this game literally came out of nowhere with the Summer Games Fest, and it's coming out later this year, which is awesome. So.
Yeah, I do think it is time for Shadow to actually be in the game again, because he, with the movie and Sonic Prime, people are like, where the fuck is Shadow in like the actual games? So it'd be cool to have him in a major role again. But I guess we'll see whatever their next big 3D Sonic game is. But again, we don't want to rush them. Let them work, let them cook. But yeah. So next we have this is weird. So Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming to PS4 and Xbox One, so the last generation of consoles. This is dumb because the game barely works on newer consoles, so it's kind of odd that they're focusing on bringing it to last gen consoles. Obviously, I know it's for sales more. There's a bigger install base for the PS4 and Xbox One, but when the game was plagued with so many issues, not working on PC too well, on the modern consoles it kind of works, but it's like, you can't really play it all too well either. It feels like they really should just focus on making the next gen experience as good as it could be, and then maybe going back to the PS4 Xbox One version, or just canceling it outright. We've seen Cyberpunk try to do this, and it just ended up horrible. That was a lot of people's first exposure to Cyberpunk was on the last gen consoles, and it just didn't work. It sucked. So I don't know if they can make it work, then that's good. But I still feel like it should focus on patching the next gen consoles way more than just making this last gen version.
Yeah, I mean, like the article mentions from GameSpot that this isn't EA's first time going backwards. They did it with the PGA Tour. So, obviously like a much lesser known game, all things considered. And I think that Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been very much well known as like the game that, came out and a lot of people were excited for it. And then it just did not perform well, like literally did not perform well. Like it was not running well on console. And and PCs. And I think the game is in a much better state now, obviously, but that's how the game should have been when it launched, even if it's still not 100% perfect, because even fucking Fallen Order is not 100% perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that them going backwards and trying to release this game on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you know what, go for it. Fuck it. See what happens. I want to see what happens, because if it actually does run better and just works perfectly on the last gen consoles, then 100% the current generation version was just rushed out the door for no reason whatsoever, in my opinion. I think that, you know, games and, you know, gamers these days are very much like they don't really pre-order games as much, I feel like, you know, especially for us. I feel like we don't really do that, and you know.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say I only really pre-order like Nintendo games at this point. Like that's because usually I know they're gonna be. We'll talk about more in Pikmin 4, but like that games are basically always polished to like extreme amounts. Plus, I like to get them physically, and like, you know, that's more important to actually pre-order stuff physically. But yeah, when it comes to anything else, usually I literally wait day of or the day before when the review embargoes come out, and then I pre-order it for any pre-order bonuses. But at that point, I already know it's gonna be good, so that's when I do it. But yeah, it's something you kind of want to avoid, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's just, oh shit. It's just like, you know, especially with a game like this that came out this year and it was so popular and a lot of people were looking forward to it, and then it came out and it just, all hype and excitement sort of died down. You know, will I play it later this year? Who knows? Because the fucking schedule for this year of games is like insane. I'll definitely try to buy it on Black Friday for like maybe $30, maybe even less than that. Who the fuck knows what price it'll be at that point? But yeah, you know, Jedi Survivor is definitely like just the Jedi series of games is definitely EA and Respawn's like biggest hitter. And, you know, for them to be like, hey, you know, we're going to bring it to older consoles for more people, because I know a lot of people, you know, they played it on the last gen consoles, but they don't have a Xbox Series X/S or a PlayStation 5. And they're like, well, shit, I can't play the game. So, you know, that'll hopefully give those people a chance to play it, and it works properly, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. But, you know, at this point, there's going to be a point where we have to drop last gen, because I do feel like it's kind of dragging down this generation of consoles. Like, it's nice more people could play these things. But, you know, I feel like a lot of the reason why people feel this generation is kind of underwhelming is because I feel like a lot of companies are kind of appeal to everyone. Like, they try to appeal to the people that bought the next gen consoles, people that didn't buy the next gen consoles, PC like enjoyers, you know, like they try to appeal to like everyone. And I feel like it is hurting this generation a lot more than it usually does. So, yeah, I feel like at this point, we probably should just drop them. I mean, it's been 3 years at this point, and I do feel like PS5s and Xbox Series X's are pretty easy to get at this point compared to when it came out. I mean, it kind of is like COVID's fault. I mean, it's COVID's fault for a lot of things, but, you know, them releasing it in 2020 didn't help at all, and has really slowed down the momentum of this generation of consoles. So, yeah, it's just been kind of interesting to see how all this is playing out. So, you know, I guess we'll see whenever like we actually do move on from the last gen consoles. I don't know if it's gonna be soon when we release the pro versions or whatever, but hopefully it's soon, because I do feel like it's kind of like hindering a lot of development at this point.
Yeah, you know, they're putting money and resources into creating these games for the last generation of consoles, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I think for a game like this that was, you know, kind of rushed out the door, not exactly running 100% properly on launch day, you know, it's like, why are they doing this kind of thing? It's for money, obviously. So
yeah, it's always money.
But yeah, at some point we are going to have to drop the last generation of consoles. When will that be? I am hoping by next year, because obviously Marvel Spider-Man 2 is coming out exclusively on the PlayStation 5, along with a bunch of other upcoming first-party PlayStation games. And, you know, I think that the other studios and the other developers, obviously they're not as big and as sort of, you know, massive as Insomniac Games / Sony. So, you know, they don't have that liberty to do that. But, you know, I get it. I get why they're doing it. You know, it's sort of like the same thing when fucking Rayman Legends, like a month or even a few weeks after or from its release on the Wii U exclusively, it got delayed because they wanted to release it on everything else, which was understandable because the Wii U was a sinking ship
bombed
at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on from there to some entertainment stuff. So we got AMC theaters. They are going to stop charging for better seats. So this was a thing that they experimented a few months back, pretty much charging for more money for the sort of like ideal seating, which is like in the middle, and then giving I believe a $1 discount if you get the seats all the way up at the front, which people have been doing for like Oppenheimer for like memes or whatever to like take funny photos.
Yeah, I saw some pictures.
But yeah, I mean, like this was a experiment, and obviously it did not work out. I think that literally they saw that people were just getting the seats around the middle and just like doing it that way, which is what I was doing. I still remember when I went to go see Spider-Verse for like the 4th or 5th time with like all of our friends. And I believe that theater was doing that like ideal price seating or whatever, and I think everyone just like avoided that area for some reason, obviously, because you know it's an extra few dollars, and especially when people are buying movie tickets outright for like $15-$20, you know, an extra $1 or $2, that makes a difference, especially if you want to get snacks and popcorn and everything like that. So will they bring this back? Who knows? I think that charging less for the seats all the way up in the front, I think is a good idea. But I think, you know, trying to charge extra for the seats in the middle, come on, you know, just let people fight over it on the Fandango apps or whatever to try to go and get those seats instead of like trying to do it like that. You know, I think that charging less for the front is fine, but I think charging extra for like the premium seating or whatever is bullshit.
Yeah, it's not an airplane, you know. Like I don't want to like be charged extra for getting more in the front. But I do agree with you. I think charging less for the front seats because they suck. I think that's great. Like I think those should be discounted just because again those seats really aren't great. I never in my life have I ever been in those seats. I think maybe once, but I was young. But I can't imagine like a 3-hour movie just like that. No. That sounds horrible. So yeah, I definitely think that they should keep that change. But yeah, charging more for like middle seats is dumb. Those are gonna be highly contested seats anyway. Like people are gonna try to get them as much as they can. Like just charging extra for them is also like annoying. So I'm glad they stopped because I think AMC is a pretty good chain. So don't ruin it. You know, I was a big Regal enjoyer for a long time, but you know after going to AMC, I'm like I think this is better. So yeah.
Yeah, AMC's great. Not an ad, by the way.
Yeah, not an ad. You know, he has A-list, but not an ad.
But they can pay me if they want, anyways.
All right, so now we got some Marvel stuff. So the Marvels got a new trailer. It's basically like the last one, just like kind of more extended and stuff. You know, shows them doing more stuff. You know, Captain Marvel doing stuff. We see the villain, which I don't think we saw last time. I don't really know where her deal is. I think that was the bracelet from Miss Marvel, I think, though, right? I don't really remember. A lot of the stuff is becoming a blur to me. But yeah, I think that was the bracelet from Miss Marvel.
I think so too.
But it's like a different one, I guess. But yeah, we still have the thing where like I guess when they use their powers, they like body swap and stuff, like they change positions, which looks like it's gonna be some funny shenanigans in the first half of the movie, and then it looks like in the second half they're gonna like team up and like fight this villain. So yeah, that's cool. I still haven't watched Captain Marvel like at all, which I feel like you know, with Secret Invasion, with the Skrulls, and like with this, I'm like, man, I probably should have watched Captain Marvel at some point. I'm not like some weirdo who's like, oh, I hate Brie Larson or whatever. Like, no, I just haven't watched it, so I probably should. It was just kind of, it came out really late. Like, it came out like I think when Infinity War and Endgame were happening. Yeah, and I kind of just want to watch those at that point. So I should probably make the time to like watch it at this point. But yeah, I mean, it still looks good. You know, I won't lie. Like, this is probably my least hype movie of all the ones that were coming out. Like even Ant-Man I was kind of more excited for it just because you know, I'm like, oh, I want to see like what Kang was all about and stuff. And obviously Guardians 3 we were both very excited for it, and it lived up to that hype because it was fucking great. You know, this was kind of like the one I was the least excited for, but you know, I'm probably still gonna watch it because Marvel.
Yeah, it's Marvel.
Wait, the shirt. Look at that. So yeah,
I mean, you know, on the contrary, I'm pretty excited for this movie just because of Iman Vellani. I mean, like, she is a fantastic actress. I agree. She put on a show within literally for the Miss Marvel Disney Plus series, and I think that within this film in particular, she's going to have a huge spotlight to shine on, and I cannot wait for this movie. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, like you said, the shenanigans that's going to happen with them swapping places here and there. But I don't know. You know, Ant-Man 3 burned me so bad. Like I'm low key getting flashbacks to that where I'm like, man, I'm like kind of excited for this, and then I'm gonna sit in the theater, and then like some like bullshit's gonna happen within the movie, and I'm just like, man, that was...
I agree, but I do feel like Ant-Man kind of set set itself up for disappointment because it was trying to be like, it had really serious trailers, right? Like it was like, look how serious we are. Like there's gonna be some real shit, and then it wasn't. I feel like this movie's a rather have more lighthearted trailers. Like it's more having fun with itself. So I don't really think it's gonna piss off as many people as like Ant-Man did, or even like Thor, I guess. Even though Thor was, I don't know, Thor was Thor. I know that was a whole deal, but yeah, I feel like Ant-Man was really setting itself up for disappointment. Like I had the same trailers as like Guardians, being like, yeah, this is gonna be serious and shit, and then again it wasn't. So I think Marvel's gonna fare a bit better in people's expectations because it's not really trying to set itself up as like this big major arc thing that's happening with like Kang or anything. It's kind of just like them doing stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that we get like a fun, entertaining movie, which like all the Marvel movies are to a certain extent. Just, you know, some bullshit happens in between there that I'm just like, that was a dumb story beat or something else happens. But, you know, I have a feeling that this movie's going to do that as well, but I guess I'll see when it obviously comes out. But I am very, very excited to go and see how, you know, this sort of team of three work together to go and defeat the bad guy. So, yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, very funny. So, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it's good.
Moving on from there, we got another Marvel Studios project. We got Loki season 2, which is now like the most viewed, sort of fastest viewed fucking Disney Plus Marvel show ever, just because Loki was very good, obviously.
Loki was very good, yeah. Loki was easily the best one, yeah.
Yeah, it is by far the best Disney Plus Marvel show, and it already has 12 million views just within 4 days, which, you know, is kind of insane for any Marvel project, in my opinion. I mean, just let me go back to the Marvels trailer. I don't even think it has... it does have 15 mil, but that was 2 weeks. You know, 2 weeks. You know, obviously, you give this trailer 2 weeks is gonna have probably double that. Anyways, this trailer, you know, it is obviously setting up what is happening to Loki within now within the TVA or whatever. You know? So, you know, it seems like it's gonna do a lot of cool things. That's all I can really say. I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. You know, it is obviously, it does have Kang in it with Jonathan Majors, which, you know, it is still, verdict is out there within the courts, but in my opinion, he is canceled in my eyes, you know. But I think that Marvel is trying to see what happens within the trials to see what they'll do with them moving forward with their sort of cinematic universe. But you know, if it were up to me, he'd be gone already. But you know, I guess they're waiting. But yeah,
Disney hasn't been having good luck with that.
Trailer looks good. I cannot wait to see exactly what happens within this show, because I had no idea what to expect for the first Loki season, and I can say the same thing for this one. Just, you know, hopefully it's just as good. That's all I could really ask for.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's just as good as well, because you know, now we know more about the TVA and stuff, so I guess like that sort of thing isn't as important in this one. So it's gonna be more about like Kang and stuff. So I'm hoping it's just as good as the first season. That, you know, there was a lot of stuff. I think the thing that made Loki really good is just that it just had like a lot of cool, interesting stuff in there. Like I think the TVA was very interesting. A lot of side characters were really good. You know, I feel like you could enjoy it pretty self-contained as well. Obviously, you gotta know some stuff, but it's not like too crazy about it. And just the overall theme of time and like the time. I don't know. Everything feels very thought out and like really cool. You know, I feel like a lot of other Marvel stuff, like maybe it feels like, okay, I guess we're just doing this, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like TVA stuff was really interesting, and I'm interested to see how it kind of evolves from here, and how this Loki sort of like ties into the major MCU, since this is like a different Loki at this point, you know. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how to do that, and hopefully they don't mess it up, because, you know, like we said, Loki is really good, and I don't know if it's going to go on for multiple seasons. Like, I don't know if this is the last one or anything. Because, again, a lot of these Marvel shows can't really go on for that long, because they're going to have to tie it in at some point. So, I don't know if this is the last season or not, but I guess we'll see. And, again, with Jonathan Majors, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. They could easily kind of just, like, kill him off here and just, like, here's Kang, but he's, like, a different dude, and then, like, we'll be fine. Again, multiverse. He's the multiverse villain. You can make it work. I know they kind of shot themselves in the foot in Ant-Man when they were all Jonathan Majors, but like you could retcon that. It's fine. We did it with War Machine and stuff. Like we could do it again. I don't think anyone would mind that much. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I'm very excited for it. You know, because after all the Disney Plus stuff we have sat through, Loki's still the best one, and you know we'll talk about Secret Invasion soon. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is also the first sort of season 2 live action Marvel show that we're getting.
Yeah.
So, it cannot disappoint on that front either. And I think that Loki as a Disney Plus series for like the Marvel fans and like, normies in general, if you've only watched like a few of them, you watch like Avengers and then, a couple of them here and there, and then obviously Infinity War and Endgame, you could follow Loki as a show fairly well. I feel like for the other MCU stuff, you're really gonna have to like nail down, like you're gonna have to like, oh yeah, you gotta watch like this movie and that movie, and like it's a lot more, I guess, convoluted for, I guess, normal everyday 9 to 5 people, but I guess for nerds like us, we're gonna follow everything, watch everything. So
yep. All right. So next we got some sad news, but also kind of good. So Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse has been delayed indefinitely. So, we've been hearing a lot of things about this. But obviously, we have the writer strikes and stuff going on, which probably doesn't help it. But, we also heard a lot about, mistreatment of the staff being like, crunching really hard. They had to like redo a bunch of final renders. A lot of just not great stuff happening. And a lot of people were just like, you should just delay the movie at this point. Because, they were saying they want to release the movie next year. And a lot of people are like, yo, we're not even close to finishing this. Like, we are, like, I don't know where you got the idea that we're going to finish it next year. So yeah, I mean, we waited 5 years for Across the Spider-Verse, and it was fantastic. I am more than willing to wait another 5 years for Beyond the Spider-Verse if it's just as good, right? So just treat your workers well, like we always say. Treat your workers well. Make sure the movie's really good, because having a trilogy that doesn't land on its feet is always like kind of leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So just make sure it's as good as it could be while making sure no one is like killing themselves trying to make this movie. And the writer strike going on, like support that as well, because they deserve more pay and stuff, and gotta send back a lot of movies, but it's for the best. We've seen a lot of mistreatment of a lot of these workers. Same thing with the VFX people as well. So yeah, this movie going on a delay is definitely, I think, for the best than trying to rush whatever that they want to rush out, because it would have just been bad,
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously a lot of people's most anticipated movie going forward, including ours. And I think that for them to delay it indefinitely, I think is for the best, not to give us another date to sort of, get our hopes up or whatever. Because obviously we don't know how long these strikes are going for. They could go for as long as fucking possible. I don't care. There's so much shit that I still need to watch and catch up on. If we don't get movies, like new movies and new shows or whatever, I don't care. I could wait, as long as these people are getting the fair wages and the fair pay that they deserve, whatever. Take as much time as you want. Fucking strike. Do what you gotta do. Which is why, when Zach Levy and Stephen Allen, the guy who plays Stephen Amell, my apologies. They pretty much came out and was like, the strikes are stupid or whatever.
I heard that, yeah.
And I was just like, man, you're so fucking dumb. Like, obviously, the strikes are supposed to be disrupted. They're supposed to, try to, get the things that they want because they need it and because they're fair and they're sort of required within the day and age of 2023 of being a writer, being an actor. Some people get residual checks for literally $0 or straight up pennies for like the shit that they did on a show, and it lives on streaming services and they get nothing from that, which is crazy because like, you got these big companies like Netflix and Disney Plus or whatever, and they're just, profiting off of it without having to pay the residuals to these actors and these writers and everything like that. So yeah, just take as much time as you need for anything and everything that is within Hollywood, and Beyond the Spider-Verse is no different. Take 5 years, take fucking 10 years. I don't give a fuck. I will be 33. I don't care. I will still go to the theater and happily watch this movie. Like take as much time as you need because I'll be there.
Yeah, like I mean, I agree with you. Like, honestly, if all media like stopped being produced for like a year or two, I'll be fine. Dude, there's so much backlog stuff that I have to do. Like, it's insane. And I feel like a lot of people feel the same way now. If anything, we have the problem of we have too much stuff coming out at once, where like no single person could ever consume all this media. Like, it's a lot. So I do feel like it's a great time for everyone to sort of like demand for better pay and better working conditions. And I really hope something in the gaming industry happens like that too, because obviously we hear nonstop about how awful the gaming industry is and stuff, and they've never been any major strikes or anything in that industry. So I think just like the movie industry, I feel like the gaming industry shows are going on that as well. It was just make a whole big protest, honestly. Like, just stop all media, and you'll see how quickly people will be like, okay, raise their pay and stuff. So I think that would be for the best. But yeah, either way, I will also be there when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. I'll be like 30 something. I don't care. I will watch it. I will be there, ready to watch it for peak entertainment. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, just be as disruptive as possible. Support these strikes. Donate to them if you can. And obviously just, you know, just wait. Just see what happens, because obviously these fucking companies, I think we talked about it last episode where it was like some of them were like, we're gonna try to, like, you know, cut their rent or whatever the fuck. Like they were trying to wait for them to, like, you know, lose their housing or some shit. And I'm just like, that is literally like super villain type shit.
Yeah, as a cartoon villain ass like dialogue. Like, what the hell?
So yeah, you know, take as much time as you need for anything and everything within Hollywood. Moving on from there, we got some interesting, I guess, like Spider-Man news because of the, for one thing, I believe the concept art book is like coming out. So there's a lot of things going on there that I see on Twitter. But also Thomas Hayden Church, who played Sandman within the Sam Raimi trilogy, says he has heard rumors Sam Raimi may do another Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. So yeah, I mean, all we could go off is just on his word. And obviously he was like, I heard about this thing. So, you know, we're not exactly sure if this is true, factual, or whatever, but if there are moves being made, obviously nothing can be signed yet because of these strikes, but if there are moves being made about Sam Raimi returning for a fourth Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire and, you know, the rest of the cast sort of being on deck and sort of having this like final movie to sort of send off this version of Spider-Man, that's going to make a fucking $1 million, $1 billion, whatever the fuck. Like it is going to do well either way because people have a lot of nostalgia and a lot of sort of memories with that version of Spider-Man, including us. But as long as it's done well and you let Sam Raimi cook, you let him do the story that he wants to do and you don't sort of meddle with his vision of what the movie is. So yeah, you know, if it's in development, that's cool. If it's not, then whatever. Because, you know, there has been this meme of like Spider-Man 4 for like well over a decade at this point. So yep. I'll hold my breath on it. But, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it is what it is.
Yeah, it'd be cool to do like, you know, one final story with, you know, that Spider-Man and be like, yeah, he's old now, but he has like one last thing. And then he like marries Mary Jane forever, and then they have a child. I mean, I'm pretty sure they got married anyway, but whatever. I forgot. But then, yeah, let them have a kid. You know, basically be like Peter B. Parker, but we're seeing it like actually happen. That'd be nice. You know, let Peter Parker be happy and stuff, which I know the comics are against or something. So, but yeah, that'd be really nice to see. If you have like one final send off. You know, obviously it'd be very nostalgic for us because, you know, sort of the first Spider-Man that we've ever seen. So, I will also be there. You do decide to do that. You know, I think No Way Home really, you know, opened a possibility for a lot of different Spider-Men to like exist together because it makes sense because, you know, multiverse stuff. But I do wonder for the consumer if that will be like confusing. Is like Spider-Man 4. Well, what do you mean Spider-Man 4? Like from like 2007 or whatever? Like that's crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I feel it'll be pretty confusing, but for Spider-Man fans, it probably will be very exciting. Same thing with Andrew Garfield says right here. He says he believes there are endless possibilities for stories for his Spider-Man as well. Just because, you know, the story never ends, he says, you know, there's always a story happening somewhere in the universe. And he's obviously alluding to, you know, his Spider-Man as well. I honestly feel like his Spider-Man would work really well with these, you know, the Sonyverse, I guess. Even if the Sonyverse is a goddamn mess, I feel like he could make it a lot more entertaining. You know, if he fought or team up with Venom, you know, if he fight fucking Morbius or whatever. You know, I feel like that could honestly be pretty entertaining if they decide to do that. So I'm all for Andrew Garfield coming back as Spider-Man as well. You know, I never thought he was the biggest issue about those movies either. Like, I honestly thought he was a pretty good Spider-Man. Even as an actor, I really like Andrew Garfield as well. So, you know, I'll be all in for bringing him back as well if they really want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know Andrew Garfield is very much about doing, you know, whatever movies that he wants to do, you know, and I believe he has been recently going back on Broadway. I'm not entirely sure. I might be making that shit up in my head. But yeah, you know, Andrew Garfield has always been like a very good actor. You know, me and you watched Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah, that was very good.
That was phenomenal. I mean, I watched Hacksaw Ridge. That is also a phenomenal movie with him starring in it. And yeah, you know, I mean, if Sony wants to do another Andrew Garfield movie, I'm sure talks have happened, obviously, because, you know, Spider-Man is such a big franchise that will make millions and millions and millions of dollars that if you get these people back in and you sort of sell them on a script, you sell them on a story that is convincing enough for their version of Spider-Man, I'm sure that they would be more than willing to do it. And you know, that's all I can really hope for, is that these things are actually like kind of good, because obviously like people are going back to like the old Amazing Spider-Man duology and be like, these movies were good. I'm like, no, they weren't necessarily good.
Not good parts to them.
Yeah, parts of them are very, very good. Like obviously, I always talk about this. The Gwen Stacy and the Peter Parker dynamic is phenomenal within those movies, because Mark Webb is known for 500 Days of Summer, which is a fantastic sort of romance movie. So, you know, seeing that dynamic play out is great. You know, I think that if Andrew Garfield were to return, if ever, it would have to be like a very, very good movie, you know, because obviously like people know that, you know, his movies weren't exactly all that great comparatively to the rest of the Spider-Man. But then again, Andrew Garfield is a fantastic actor, and I'm sure that, you know, he loves Peter Parker. He loves that character. And I'm sure it sucked to see, you know, online at the time that, you know, his perception of Spider-Man was not doing so hot.
Yeah, again, not his fault. Like, it was more just like everything else around those movies were like kind of bad.
And last but not least, Tobey Maguire, according to, once again, the sort of like concept book, he said that, you know, working with Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield was sort of reinvigorating his interest in performing. It really felt like a brotherhood. So yeah, you know, just seeing that, you know, this one film that obviously was like the worst kept secret within Hollywood, you know, sort of like reinvigorated a lot of people's sort of like drive to do things, not just within movies, but also just like as Spider-Man, you know, is very, very cool. You know, I would love to see them back on screen again within their own solo films. But once again, you know, like I said, you know, everything has to sort of line up correctly. You can't just like shove them on screen, and obviously it'll make money, but word of mouth will go out that like it's not that great or like it's not that good, and people won't watch it because either they don't want that sort of their memories of that version of Spider-Man to be tainted or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed watching all of them in No Way Home. I know some people, you know, there's a lot more comments being like, oh, it wasn't that good. It's just nostalgia bait. And yeah, it kind of is. But it was great. So watching them all interact was so good. And I'm happy it kind of made them all want to be Spider-Man again, which is really cool. Because I feel like, you know, Tobey Maguire especially, I always felt like he kind of resented Spider-Man after a certain point. He's just like, I really don't want to do this. So it's kind of cool to see him like get like, yeah, you know what, Spider-Man was cool, and I do agree. Like his Spider-Man was pretty good. So yeah, hopefully something does come out of this, because right now it's just like a lot of just like, yeah, that'll be cool if it does happen. So yeah, hopefully we do see something happen in the near future, because you know, more Spider-Man is always good, as long as it's good. So yeah, I guess we'll see about that. All right, so next we have some more stuff here. Donald Glover and Stephen Glover are going to write Lucasfilm's Lando series, which I didn't know what was happening, but apparently that is happening. So this is going to be obviously, I think, based off, you know, his portrayal as Lando in Solo, which I did not watch. Did you watch Solo?
I did, but I'm not sure if he's going to be starring in it. I know that he's going to write it and stuff. So okay. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but you know, it is him and his younger brother that are going to write for this character. It does suck that the way that the old writer sort of found out about this was on social media. Yes. So, you know, once again, you know, Hollywood strikes again. But, you know, I know Donald Glover is, you know, he jumps around Hollywood a lot. You know, he does a lot of different things. He doesn't like sticking to like one thing necessarily. You know, a lot of people love him for his Childish Gambino music, you know, me included. But, you know, he likes to do a lot of different things. And obviously with his series Elena ending, and, you know, obviously his schedule is going to, you know, fill up. I still remember when he went on Twitter and he showed like, I guess like his scrapped script of like a Deadpool series or whatever. And I was like, that was pretty cool. You know, imagine if that did come to light, you know, that sort of actually did become a reality. So, yeah, you know, whatever this Lando series is for Disney Plus, you know, all I could say is that, you know, it's going to be written well, hopefully, you know, because obviously Donald Glover is a huge Star Wars nerd. He was Lando Calrissian within the Solo movie, which is not that bad. You know, all things considered, I think people really did not like it just because they recasted everyone or whatever. But I'm just like, you got to stop doing this deep fake shit, you know? And like, that was before that era where like, that was like really popularized. And I think that recasting everyone within that movie for like this sort of prequel Han Solo story was fine. But, you know, people just didn't like it. Me personally, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing a lot more better things about Solo. Same thing with Rogue One. Like, Rogue One and Solo kind of got a big... like, sort of like, yeah, they weren't that bad. Like, they were pretty good, I guess, compared to the sequels we got later. So, I guess people became more forgiving. But, you know, we have so many Star Wars series now. Hopefully this one's good. It's kind of weird he won't play Lando, even though he played Lando in Solo. But again, I don't know if it's like a prequel, like he's following that stuff, or is it gonna be like a sequel stuff. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Star Wars lore, you know how it is. But yeah.
All right. So next bit of news we got here is Gal Gadot is developing a new Wonder Woman film with James Gunn and Peter Safran, pretty much the two heads of the new DCU. So yeah, I mean, this is according to her from an interview done within June where she was promoting another thing on Netflix, Heart of Stone. So obviously this is coming from her mouth, and this is from a few months ago. So we don't know exactly if this is actually true. You know, James Gunn and Peter could have, you know, changed their minds or whatever, but apparently they are developing a new Wonder Woman film with Gal Gadot. I believe she is going to be starring in it, but you know, that is going to be very confusing for some people, just because it's like, well, you rebooted the whole DCU. You got rid of Mr.
Henry
Affleck,
Cavill,
and Henry Cavill. So it's like, but you're going to keep Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. You know, there are other actors out there that people are fan casting to play the character of Wonder Woman, which I think would be completely fine. I think that if you're going to do a full reboot, just do a full reboot. Don't bring back certain actors to play, you know, the same character again. You know, I would like to see her play as like maybe like a producer, or maybe, you know, some sort of like supervising role or whatever the case is, because I feel like you need to, you know, have someone else play Wonder Woman for it to really be a new fresh take, in my opinion. Obviously not saying that I hate her Wonder Woman at all, because I think that the sort of narrative on Twitter was that like, oh, like she was always terrible as Wonder Woman, but I'm like, okay, yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 was bad, like it was a bad movie, but was it necessarily her fault? Not really. I think that the story was just kind of bad. But, you know, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, I think that she's always like so much fun to see within the other films, you know, whenever she makes like a quick cameo or whatever, you know. It was always fun seeing her within those other movies, and obviously within her own solo film, she was great in. So, you know, not to say that, you know, they need to replace her because she's bad at it. I just think that they need to replace her because it's a new DC universe that they're trying to build.
I agree. It's kind of weird that they, like, James Gunn was like, "Oh, we're gonna reboot it. No one's gonna come back." I'm like, okay, that's fair, because they want to make it like totally separate from like the previous DCU stuff. But now I'm like, oh, we're gonna bring her back though. I'm like, wait, what? I mean, it kind of like contradicts what you just said. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's not also fair to a lot of the other actors that are like kind of booted now, like, because it's like, well, why does she get to come back and like no one else, you know? I mean, I like Gal Gadot. Like, you know, I liked her as Wonder Woman. You know, I thought she did a good job in the first one, and even in 1984, even that one, you know. That movie I did not like, but it wasn't really her fault. Like it was just kind of everything else. But yeah, even then though, I still feel like they should like find a replacement, because again, it doesn't really seem really fair. It kind of goes against what James Gunn was saying in the beginning, where he wants to like reboot the whole thing, you know. So
yeah. I mean, apparently her and several other actors were in talks of returning, but obviously, you know, things change, you know, just same thing with fucking Henry Cavill, as he thought he was going to come back. But, you know, if they, you know, are moving forward with this, you know, I hope that it ends up actually being good, but, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. It's not necessarily going to be Wonder Woman 3. It's going to be a new Wonder Woman movie, just with her starring in it, I guess. You know, obviously this is all coming from her mouth, and just sort of like speculation and sort of theorizing in terms of like what this actually means. Because like I said, this was recorded in June and now we're in August. So, you know, a few months later, things can change. Decisions are made. So.
Yeah. So hopefully, you know, I don't know. I feel like hopefully this isn't true, because I do feel like it's kind of weird that he made this whole big thing. It's just like, nah, we're not going to do that. So, but, you know, I guess we'll see. So lastly, we have Vanessa Kirby will reportedly star as Sue Storm in Fantastic Four. So there's a new Fantastic Storm thing that they're doing, and yeah, she was from Mission Impossible. If you didn't know that, that's what she was in. I think the last two. I think she was in. So
yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I mean, it looked like she would fit at least the looks of her and stuff, so that's cool. Again, Fantastic Four also isn't my favorite Marvel thing ever. I always think, I know they're like the first one and they're very important and stuff, but like I've never really cared about Fantastic Four that much. So again, hopefully with this they make me care, because you know, the last few, I mean, I know like Fan Four Stick was like really bad. So, and you know, again, I've just never been a big fan of Fantastic Four. But you know, if they can make me actually care about it, that'd be really neat, because I know they're pretty important to like the Marvel, like just entire thing here. So, and then she'll be a great, I mean, I really liked her in Mission Impossible. So, hopefully she'll be good in this, if this is true, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole Fantastic Four, just like casting and everything going behind the scenes has always been just such a huge mess. I mean, this same day it was reported that Jack Quaid, who is known for his role within The Boys, he was going to be Johnny Storm, and then he wasn't. It's actually going to be Joseph Quinn, which for some reason people love or hate him for some reason, which I'm just like, he was great within Stranger Things. What the fuck happened between now and then? I don't know what happened. But, people don't like him as, what's it called? Johnny Storm. But, that is the reported casting. Obviously, nothing's official yet. Nothing can be signed, like I said, because of these strikes. But, this movie as a whole has just been so fucking interesting to follow. Because, like, there have been, other reports of, like, Adam Driver being Mr. Fantastic. And now it looks like it's going to be Matt Smith or some shit like that. Obviously, we don't know anything that is, like, confirmed or anything like that. This is all just like reports. So Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, and apparently she's going to be like the leader of the Fantastic Four because they couldn't secure their Mr. Fantastic, because that casting is obviously all over the place. I think that having her be the leader of the Fantastic Four, I think that is fine. Obviously I don't really know these characters that much. I read the first few issues of Dan Slott's run of it. I believe it was in like 2018, something like that. I read the first few issues and then I kind of just lost interest because I didn't know enough about the Fantastic Four. Maybe I should rewatch the movies or whatever the case is. But yeah, whatever happens with this movie, I hope it ends up being well, because at this point there's been a billion fan castings, a billion reports and rumors and everything like that. Whatever Marvel does officially announce the Fantastic Four, it's going to be pretty big and pretty huge. And apparently Galactus is going to be the villain in this movie. And on top of that, it's going to be a sort of film where it goes back to like the 60s and then they like get lost in time or something like that, just like Captain America. So, like I said, all these rumors, speculations, it's all over the place. We don't know exactly what's official and what's not, but I think just based on that information, it does sound pretty cool and pretty exciting. But yeah, I just want to know who the fuck's going to be the Fantastic Four at this point, which I think a lot of people are sort of waiting to hear.
Honestly, I'm kind of against Galactus just being a one movie villain. I feel like that's like an Avengers level threat. I really do feel like that's like a thing you gotta lead up to because it's fucking Galactus. But if they wanted, again, these are all rumors, so like like whatever. But yeah, hopefully they have more build up to Galactus because I always suspected him to be like a major arc in the MCU. Same thing with like Doctor Doom or maybe Magneto and stuff. Like those are pretty big villains. So hopefully it's not just like just get rid of him and that's it. So yeah, I guess we'll see.
I think I saw a tweet that was like it's actually good if Galactus is the villain, just because it's like it's better if he just shows up and he just starts doing random shit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds pretty fun and stupid.
That would be pretty funny, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, nothing's really official yet. Nothing can be signed because of the strikes. But yeah, Fantastic Four has just been a fucking mess just to follow in and of itself, because the same day it was like Jack Quinn's gonna be Johnny Storm and then it was like, oh no, Joseph Quinn is reportedly it. I'm just like, what is happening? So yeah. Moving on from there, let's talk about something else Jack Quaid is actually in. He plays Superman within My Adventures with Superman, episodes 4 and 5. Episode 5 was pretty contentious because a lot of people just started hating Lois Lane because she found out who Superman is. And if you couldn't tell, we're going to do spoilers. But yeah, I mean, like, I am still really liking this show. I mean, I haven't watched a sort of Western cartoon week to week and sort of episode to episode in like, I would say over a decade. I feel like I tried to do that with Steven Universe, and then Steven Universe's release schedule was just so fucked up. I just gave up. It was. But with My Adventures with Superman, it's gonna be all on HBO Max or Max or whatever the fuck it's called these days. And yeah, I mean, 5 episodes in, it's really good. I am really liking what they're doing with this version of Superman. Pretty much, literally developing everything from the ground up. His introduction to Lois Lane, him getting his powers, him learning how to be Superman. We actually get to see Superman get his ass kicked, because I think that is something that a lot of people sort of have this stigma and this sort of idea of like, oh, Superman can't be beat, he's fucking invincible and indestructible and everything like that. But like, he had to learn to get there, and like, obviously, like, there's stories out there that are still being made within the comics of, Superman still dealing with everyday ordinary things. And I think that, having this sort of secret identity part of him really does make him human, seeing him try to, fumble everything like that. And, he's always getting a bagel or whatever the fuck. So yeah, it is a lot of fun. And honestly, I did not have a problem with episode 5.
Yeah, me either. Again, like you said, my biggest issue with Superman is that he seems like inhuman. I mean, he is, but like, you know what I mean? Like, he seems like indestructible. Like, it's just not a very interesting character to follow. Like, the reason why I like Spider-Man so much is because, you know, he isn't indestructible. Like, he is pretty frail, all things considered, but like, you know, his like wittiness and like, you know, him going through a lot of tough situations and stuff, like that's what makes that character interesting. And I feel like the Superman is kind of going for that same route, where it's like, you know, he has to deal with a lot of personal drama, and like he has to deal with him, like he doesn't have all his powers yet, and he gets his ass kicked a lot, which I think is great. Like, you know, I think if he was like super OP from the start, it wouldn't really be that satisfying to watch it. Because, you know, he's a very strong, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? So I think having this progression in both his sort of like social life and in his powers is like kind of a cool dynamic as well. And it's kind of cool to like see all these villains like I have no idea about, like Parasite or whatever. He has like he's wearing like an Ava unit, like that was weird. Yeah, it was kind of a little messed up how he's like he got all like scrung up inside that thing. I'm like, oh god, that's a little graphic for like a kid's show. Even though I know it's not really like you know, it's like PG or whatever, but I thought the episode was pretty good and stuff. You know, really sort of like, oh, like, you know, they're both like Clark. There you go. I forgot his name because I'm sorry to say Superman. Clark and Lois are like, you know, getting more, you know, together and stuff. Like maybe they started liking each other some more, but then, you know, she started getting really sus because, you know, yeah, he's like, yeah, I think he's Superman. And then in episode 5, you know, obviously she figures out that yes, he is indeed Superman. And yes, I saw on Twitter that everyone was very angry about the way she handled it. I do think jumping off the roof was a little extra, but apparently that's also like a reference to like I think a movie or something. So like I'm like, oh, okay, Superman
2, something.
Yeah, like that. So apparently that was a reference to that. So I'm like, it's not like that character, I guess, for Lois Lane. And obviously she knew that he was gonna get it. It would be funny if she did it. That was the whoops. But either way, I feel like, you know, I feel like everyone is kind of justified and feeling like kind of miffed, you know, like Superman and then like, you know, Clark and Lois and stuff, like, because he was trying to tell her, but then she's like, oh, but, you know, like, I hate Superman. And then he obviously like backed up from that. But then, you know, Lois Lane is like, you know, she expressed so much like, I hate liars and stuff. Like, I don't like secrets. I don't like liars. And then Clark is just like, oh, I don't really know how to handle this. So like, I kind of get it from both sides. You know, it's more of a complex situation. I know people don't like liar reveal stuff in general in a lot of media. And I agree, it's kind of played out. But, you know, if it is more of like a Superman thing for this to sort of happen, it'll be like, yeah, I guess this sort of just does have to happen. And yeah, I don't know, I think it was handled, you know, pretty okay. Obviously it's not gonna last like this forever, like they're gonna make up and stuff, and you know, Jimmy as well, poor Jimmy.
Oh no, man, I felt so bad for Jimmy also in episode 5, bro. I was just like, man, he wanted to go on this Bigfoot trip, and then like no one showed up, and then he went, and then it was played as like a last thing gag or whatever, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, my poor man Jimmy getting sidelined the whole episode, feeling bad for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was also cool to see, I guess, more of the plot, like towards the end of that as well, with like I guess that was Slade. is that Deathstroke? I guess. And
I have no idea.
Like, yeah, I mean, he's wearing like the orange, like the weird orange mask and black thing, except he's like pretty anime boy and not like what I'm used to in Teen Titans. And then you have like the other guy as well, like he like, I know who you are or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going on with that, but you know, that's interesting, and I guess we'll see how that plot sort of evolves later on. But you know, right now I guess we have to deal with the, you know, the interpersonal drama, because that's like sort of like more pressing for both of them at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the reaction on Twitter when episode 5 happened, I was like, wait, what the fuck is happening? I was like, oh, okay, she finds out and people don't like the way she reacted. So then when I finally watched the episode, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like, this is like, I guess like a normal reaction for her, all things considered, you know, because she doesn't like liars. She doesn't like sort of how he handled it, because I guess she felt like that he could trust her with that information. But obviously, you know, Clark Kent is still learning how to be Superman and what it means to be a superhero. So, you know, the way they both reacted was completely fine and justified. And we also have to realize that, like, they're both within, like, their early 20s. Like, they're still, like, pretty young. Like, they're interns at a fucking newspaper. So they're obviously, like, not, you know, mid-20s going into their 30s or whatever. You know, they're still learning how to be, you know, adults in a way, you know, and I think that a lot of people forget that. And I think a lot of the people that are also complaining about it haven't been, you know, in relationships like that, where it's like you're gonna have moments like that where it's like, oh shit, like I fucked up, or like she fucked up or whatever, and you're gonna have to like handle it as adults and sort of, you know, you're gonna react a certain way or whatever. And yeah, I think that was fine. Obviously, we know that they're gonna make up. They're not gonna fucking split them apart forever, because I think that this is just the beginning of their relationship, if you will, as boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever the case is. And obviously, at the beginning of the episode, Clark Kent was like, I'm gonna tell her that I like her, and I was like, oh, okay. I know how this episode ends though, because of Twitter, so we'll see how that goes. But also, just like on top of that, just like the show as a whole, like just between these two episodes, they're so good at just like planning it out, and like it reminds me of Spectacular Spider-Man, where they were like planning shit, and like, oh, okay, so like at this point, Clark rips this page out of the magazine and then stuffs it in his jacket, and then Lois finds it because she has his jacket, and she's like, wait, what the hell is this? And then she starts putting it all together. So yeah, these writers, they know what the fuck they're doing, and I love it. I love it so much. I love watching the show every week, just because it is something new and refreshing. Not just because it's Superman, because it's not a character I'm really familiar with, but also it's a cartoon. I don't really watch weekly cartoons like this in my ripe old age of 24.
I do feel it's pretty refreshing to have something like this, because I feel like a lot of the there's not a good middle ground for a lot of superhero shows being like more, I guess, accessible for everyone. Like a lot, like the more modern superhero shows are really graphic and like a lot more violent and stuff. Like Invincibles, or even like the Harley Quinn show. Like they're both, obviously they're great, but like they're not really like, no kids. I mean, I hope no kids are watching that because they're pretty violent. But, there's nothing really like Spectacular Spider-Man as much anymore. Like a lot of the kid-centric superhero shows are very like baby like, which is fine. That's fine for them. But I feel like having something like Spectacular Spider-Man that does introduce more complex like characters and plots and stuff, I think that's also important to have for like kids and stuff, and just like people that enjoy Spider-Man and stuff. And I feel like there's the same thing that's happening with Superman, where it's like it's not just like like baby stuff or whatever. Like it actually is like it's like a good show. Like it can be enjoyable for both for kids and for adults and for everyone basically. And I feel like that middle ground is something we've been kind of missing for a while in terms of like superhero stuff. So well, for animated wise anyway. So it's really good to see that, because the people writing the show does seem to really care about like what they're doing and stuff, which is great. And yeah, I'm just more interested to learning more about like Superman villains and all that. Like it's it really is exciting, because like I don't really know much about Superman besides him and like Lex Luthor and stuff. So it's gonna be cool to see like maybe more like that side of the comic book world that I have really nothing about. So and I'm pretty engaged with the story and stuff so far, and I like the characters. So yeah, right now it's really exceeding my expectations. I'm really happy I decided just to like randomly watch it, because I heard really good things about it. So I'm like, yeah, let's give it a go. So
yeah, I'm not exactly sure how many episodes more we got left, but hopefully it goes up to 12, 13. Like the normal, I guess, like anime motif, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll wait and see. I'm trying to look it up right now. It looks like there's 9 episodes scheduled, so not bad. As long as it ends on a satisfying note or a exciting cliffhanger. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, moving on to something that was fucking awful. We got Secret Invasion. We're gonna talk about the finale and I guess like the series as a whole. Yeah, that finale was really just like MCU, like MCU Disney Plus shit. I was just like, I remember watching it and just being like, okay, so like, how are they going to wrap up this story? Because like we only got like 40 minutes here or whatever. And, that whole twist with like Gaia being the one going into I guess like the place and, trying to act like, oh, I'm taking all these pills or whatever. And then like it does the whole CG fight scene. And I'm just like, this shit looks so goofy. When she had like Drax's arm or whatever, I was like, man. Like I guess it was cool in concept, and then when they put it on the screen, it just doesn't work for me. Like it is just so funny, because this has been pointed out so many times. It's just so funny that like She-Hulk literally made fun of like everything with the MCU, and then we get Secret Invasion and it does the same shit. Like it's trying to be like tongue in cheek about it, like trying to be cute or whatever. And I'm just like, no, this is fucking garbage. Stop giving us shit like this. I hate it. Honestly, Secret Invasion, obviously it started off kind of rough, and then it kind of picked up with like episode 2, 3, and 4, and then it just went downhill again. I can't with the MCU Disney Plus shows anymore. It is so like disheartening to see it go this way.
Yeah. I don't even know how this keeps happening. Like, I don't know. I feel like in general, like Secret Invasion was just kind of like, I felt like it just needed more than just like one show or something. Maybe it should have been 2 seasons. It should have been a whole arc of the MCU, because I feel like it's like such a big thing. Like I feel like having like people be sus and like you don't know like who's like a scroll and stuff. Like I feel like that should have been a multi-movie thing. And then to try to bullshit is like, oh, Rhodey was a scroll like since like Civil War. Like what, you didn't know that? I'm like, no, like you made that up like right now, so like whatever. And it makes a lot of his character development kind of just gone at this point, which kind of ruins his character for like no reason. So yeah, I feel like if they wanted to do this, they should have planted the seeds for this like either way earlier, or maybe this will be at the start of the arc, and then we see how that goes from there. I feel like just having it all in this one tiny show and it ends like super unsatisfying and like no one really cares. It was just like, what's the point? What was even the point of this? Like I don't really understand what the point of any of this was. And then try to boast like, oh, this is like the Andor of Marvel is actually like really funny because Andor was really good and written really well, and this was not at all. So and like you said and everyone else pointed out, it's just really funny how She-Hulk really did just predicted all this, and they probably just knew at this point like, yeah, have a big CGI fight at the end where they're all using the same powers like all and stuff, and like yeah, that's exactly what happened here, and it looked just as dumb as it sounded. So yeah, all of it just ended really not satisfying at all. The big CG fight was whatever, and usually I could excuse a big CG fight if the rest of the show was pretty good. Like I mean I actually did like Moon Knight quite a bit. Like the big CG fight was whatever, it's like the obligatory CG fight, but I feel like the rest of it was pretty good. Like I really like Moon Knight's character and stuff. Same thing with WandaVision. Even though like the ending was kind of whatever, I felt like a lot of the overall stuff was good. This, I felt like nothing about it was really good, and it just ended up leaving me very disappointed. And every time I had to watch this, I was just like, all right, I had to just get this out of the way. I was actually thankful. I was like thankful the episodes actually weren't that long, because I'm like, I didn't have to like slog through it. Like it was only 30 minutes. Yeah. Like, all right, good, it's over. I could move on with my life now. So yeah.
Yeah, it just. Man, like when I saw things on Twitter, because that was like the main thing that I got spoiled for, was like Rhodey being sort of like a scroll ever since Civil War or whatever, which like people were like theorizing for a while. But when the episode dropped and like the fucking director even said it himself, I was just like, man, they're doing this comic book retcon shit, and like that's not gonna sit well with these fucking normies that watch the MCU, because it's like it's always terrible. It's always bad when they do this shit, and especially because Rhodey as a character has really like become like a fan favorite among people because like he's funnier and like he was having much more of a character, and now within this show it's just like, oh, he was a scroll ever since this timeline, so now people are like, oh shit, now he's gonna have to like figure out like what the fuck happened, because now Tony's dead, fucking Captain America's gone. It's like so much shit happened while he was away. It was just like they could have just handled this so much better, that wouldn't have caused such a big mess within the fandom and the community, where it's like they could have just done it like maybe like after Endgame or whatever, and like they show like a scene of some shit happening and how he got kidnapped, and they took his identity or whatever. I don't know. It just seems weird, because now people are like going back to like old scenes of like, you know what, this kind of makes sense when like Rhodey said this, and I'm just like, they didn't think this shit out. No, you cannot tell me that they thought this shit out, because it is just so stupid. But yeah, it is like the goofiest fucking finale of like any MCU show, and like I say that with my whole heart, because Moon Knight's finale, where they skipped the whole fight scene at the end, where it was like, oh, it was the other guy that like took over it, whatever. I was just like, what?
Yeah. At least Moon Knight had like did have good stuff in it. I feel like Secret Invasion, I basically had like, I don't really have like really anything good to really say about it. Like maybe it got a bit better towards the middle, but even then, like there's nothing that really sticks out to me at all. Like it doesn't really enhance Nick Fury's character to me at all. Like Gaia is definitely gonna be like fucking nerfed the next time because she can't exist like that. She's too overpowered. So they're gonna find some bullshit being like, oh, the super scroll serum like actually like degrades over time or some bullshit. That stupid harvest shit. Like, what do you mean? Like what? Yeah, a lot of it was just like felt like so much like ass pulls they had to do to make the show work, and it just really just didn't sit well with me. I don't know. I feel like the show was cursed ever since the beginning with the AI intro, and then it just went down from there. So yeah, really disappointing. Definitely the worst MCU show. I really see no reason to watch this at all either. Like I feel like it does nothing to enhance the, I guess, overall plot of the MCU at all. Like, besides like Rhodey was like a non-character this whole time, so that's cool. But yeah, it really wasn't good.
Yeah, I mean, like the best part of the show is by far Gravik. Kingsley.
Yeah, Gravik was good, but even then, at the end when he becomes a Super Skrull, he just becomes like a grunt. Like he's just like CG. Doesn't say it. Yeah, and then Yeah.
That's my problem with this show is that like we see Gravik throughout the entire series as like obviously like his human self because that's what it is. But then when we get to the fight, he's a Skrull. So like there's that disconnect when we're watching it where it's like, all right, is this really Gravik that like she's fighting or whatever? Because like it doesn't look like Gravik, obviously, and like that's the point of the show and everything like that. But even then, I feel like that there could have been more scenes of him, you know, maybe not as his human self, and the viewer could have got like a connection with like, oh, okay, so like this Skrull is Gravik.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, give him like a scar or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it just felt terrible watching.
Yeah, it was not good. Definitely big skip. Do not watch it.
I'm sure just going on Twitter and seeing the funny clips of it. You know, if you want to see Gravik, you know, he is, like I said, the best part of the show. You know, you can watch it for that. But other than that, it's not really rewatchable, which I feel like most of these MCU shows aren't, except for maybe like She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, maybe a few others. I can't exactly. Oh, Loki, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, which is like my main concern going forward with these MCU shows. Obviously, Loki's next, and then I think Echo's after that. And Echo's dropping all the same day. So I'm like, okay, well, if it's dropping all the same day, does that mean it's good or is it bad? I don't know. So,
I mean, I'm going to say that it might be mediocre. So,
that's a safe bet because that's pretty much everything Marvel has been doing with their Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to the last part of the show where we are going to talk about Pikmin 4. We're going to talk about spoilers for this review discussion thing just because the spoilers are mainly with like the gameplay and sort of like what Pikmin you'll see and like what things will happen within the story or whatever if you even care about the story. But you know, as a person who has not played a Pikmin game in 10 fucking years, I loved Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 is great. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. All of the Pikmin are back. You're able to get them at some point within the adventure. It is a pretty beefy game as well. I mean, like there's a first initial ending, which takes like about 12 hours to get to. Yeah. And then there's another ending where you're going to have to save Poichi or whatever, which... Pochi, which ends up Pochi.
Ochi.
Ochi.
Yeah,
I'm
Ochi.
fucking trolling. I'm trolling. I couldn't hear with the Discord filter. Anyways, yeah, you know, Ochi trying to save him was like an extra like 6 to 7 hours. Yeah. And the last thing you have to do is this fucking 20 level goddamn cave. Rush, which like I had no idea it was that. So I started it and I was like, I only got 5%. I was like, oh no, this shit's gonna take forever. But yeah, I mean, like I love everything Pikmin 4 did. You know, it does improve upon certain things and it takes certain things away. For example, you're only controlling one captain, which is, you know, a little disappointing at first, but I was like, oh, okay, it works for this game because of the level design and sort of like how the planets are structured. And then there's some sort of like quality of life changes. Like for example, when you're throwing Pikmin at like a certain thing to like build it, the game literally locks you out from throwing Pikmin for like a few seconds, which is like so nice. I'm like, oh, okay. So like, I don't have to count like 20 Pikmin as I'm throwing it. I could just keep spamming A. And then once it stops, I can move on to the next thing. There's not like a time feature thing. Like obviously like you can only do so much within a day, but like you're not structured to like 30 days to like get everything done or whatever. You know, like you can take as long as you want, which I think is fine, especially, you know, as we evolve within gaming. You know, I feel like time limits like that are very much like olden times, if you will. But yeah, Pikmin 4, I really did love it. You know, the gameplay is great. I think that there's a lot of content here for $60. You know, you are getting like guaranteed like 10 hours worth. And the game really does like handhold you, which was like fucking annoying when I was playing it. I was like, okay, I know how to play Pikmin, Nintendo. Please let me play the game. You know, for like the first hour or two, they're throwing tutorial at you because they want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Even then, like certain things aren't like explained. Like one big thing to me was like, how do I aim Pikmin with like the motion controls? You have to hold A, and I was like, oh, okay, I learned that from the fucking loading screen at the bottom with the hints or whatever. I was like, they couldn't tell me that. All right, anyways, but yeah, you know, Pikmin 4 is very good.
Yeah, so I, you know, as someone who played all the Pikmin games in like 2 months, yeah, this is the best one. So yeah, I obviously don't have a long history with Pikmin. You know, I've always had it around. You know, you've always played it. My brother's played it as the series has went on, but I never did. I was always scared off from Pikmin 1 from the 30-day time limit. Even though when I played Pikmin 1, it's not that big of a deal, but it always scared me off to actually play it. I think Pikmin 4 is now a really good introduction to the series. Obviously I think you should replay play the series from the start because you get to appreciate all the changes it does. But I feel like if you just want to experience one Pikmin game, I think 4 has got basically everything you would want. It brings back dungeons, which I think are done way better in this game. I love the idea of dungeons in Pikmin 2, but like I said, they were randomly generated. The level design is like really weird and nonsensical. It's mostly just killing a bunch of enemies as well. I feel like the dungeons in Pikmin 4 have a lot better variety in what you do in them. So maybe one dungeon is like just one big floor, or there's another dungeon that's maybe a little more combat focused, but it's also like just level design in there. Like, you actually have to do some puzzles in there and some other little stuff. And I think that's great. I think that makes them so much better than Pikmin 2's dungeons by like a lot. I do think the bosses aren't as good as Pikmin 2, but they're still pretty good. I feel like there's a lot of time you fight just, here's like a bigger Wollywog and like that's it. I'm like, okay, that's cool, I guess, but it's not like a unique boss or whatever. But still, I think the dungeons are way better in this game. And even though the game is long, like it took me 30 hours to 100% it. I did everything besides one thing. I haven't done one thing, but it's really hard. But I've done basically everything else in the game. And, I appreciate how much variety there is. Pikmin 2 was also like 20 hours if you were doing everything, but that game doesn't really have a lot of variety. Like the overworld stuff, you only do like 10% of the time. And the dungeons like the other 90% of the time, and the dungeons get really repetitive. In Pikmin 4, you have the Dandori battles, you have the Dandori challenges, you have the dungeons, you have the overworld stuff, you have like Olimar has a whole ass side mode as well. It's a lot of things in this game that really breaks up the night missions as well, which are like tower defense. I think all these are really done well and really don't feel like, I guess, like just cheap additions to the game. Like they really want to add as much as they could to this game. And speaking of that, I guess I could talk about those things. I think the Dandori battles and challenges are great, as the game doesn't really pressure you with time. Like you were saying, you don't have no time limit. You could do again, like you said, there's a day limit, but there's no like overall, like you're going to die in 30 days if you don't do this. Like, no, there's none of that. But I think the Dandori challenges and battles do a great job of giving you that sort of frantic, like I have to rush to get this done. Because if you want to get good medals, or if you just want to pass it, some of the later ones are really hard.
Oh yeah.
Like if you just want to pass it, it's really hard, and it really stresses you out to make sure you're really like organizing your time right, making sure you do everything well. And I think that's really cool to have those contained challenges instead of being the whole game, because it allows players to be like, okay, I want to experience this stressful time loop, I guess, and then you can just put them in these challenges. And I think that's great. And even though the game's combat isn't too difficult until the end, I think the nighttime missions make up for that, where by the end it's fucking horrible. Like you're fighting like 2 smoky progs, 2 Emperor Bullblaxes, the giant beady long legs. Like it's insane, the last one. And yeah, it's just a lot of enemies to throw at you. And I think the sort of tower defense mechanic is really fun and frantic, where you want to send Ochi to one of those like tower things you have to defend, and you're captain in another one, and you want to switch to Ochi, or you want to let Ochi do his thing and you handle the boss enemies. Very frantic. It's really fun to have like more of that combat sort of focus on these night missions as well. And yeah, like I said, I think it just balances out really well. The Olimar stuff, I'm surprised that wasn't DLC. Like they just let you do like a whole 2 hour. It took me 2 hours and a half to do that Olimar stuff, and I'm like, what? How is this in the game? How am I not paying extra for this? It says all really nice Pikmin 1 references. Basically, you just go through the 4 beginning areas as Olimar, and you have to find all your ship parts. Except instead of 30 days to find 30 ship parts, you only have 15 days to find 30 ship parts. So it really stresses you out to make sure you're doing everything as efficiently as possible. And I think that's a great way to get both the Pikmin 1 Pikmin 1 and 3 fans happy with its sort of like time management, and the Pikmin 2 fans with the dungeons and stuff. I think it does such a great job of appeasing every type of Pikmin fan there is. And the only thing I haven't done is the trials of the twin leaf, or whatever the fuck it's called. You get that after you do the Olimar stuff, and it's 10 Dandori challenges that are very hard. They are very difficult. And I have not done that because they're hard. So also, if you're worried the game's too easy, I say just wait until the later half of the game. I think the game really does ramp up in difficulty. And I love its difficulty because it's not Pikmin 2 bullshit where it's like things are falling from the sky or there's really cheap enemy placement. like the challenge comes from more just like those Dandori challenges and stuff where it's like, okay, this is just a really tricky thing I got to solve and I only have like this amount of time to do it. Like, let me see if I could like do that. And I feel like that's where Pikmin difficulty really doesn't feel like it feels good. It doesn't feel like bullshit because you just got to effectively use your time and stuff. And I think that's great. And even the later combat challenges is like, we have some difficult enemy placement and stuff, but again, none of it feels like bullshit. Things aren't falling from the sky or anything. It's just kind of like, okay, I gotta figure out how to beat this enemy without losing any Pikmin or as few Pikmin as possible. So I think the game is great, super well rounded, tons of content. Is definitely the best Pikmin game.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing with this Pikmin game, having the dungeons back again, but also making sure that, it's not complete bullshit, and also the fact that you can rewind time. I think that is like a big thing because like, especially with the later dungeons, like you said, the difficulty ramps up. And this is like within, I guess, like the post game, if you will, where it's like after the first ending, they give you more stuff to do where you're saving Ochi.
Yeah. Ochi. Yeah.
So, just doing that stuff was a lot more difficult. And even those two areas that you get are, a little harder than, I guess, the previous ones, I would say. There's every single area is fucking big and massive. And there's so much stuff to do. But I feel like the last area that you're sort of exploring in, there's like not a lot of ways to like really get around like efficiently. Like the first captain or like I should say the last captain that you get within I guess like that little 3 mission structure, if you will. The third captain that I needed, I actually couldn't fucking get her in time. I was like, oh shit, I have to leave because I have to like move my base or whatever, which like that's another thing that's brand new, right? You can move your base. Yeah, because like these areas are so big, you can now move your base, which happens instantaneously, which is great because I'm sure it's because the world's already loaded, so you're just moving one thing over. So, just moving your base and having that sort of strategy and sort of that timing and sort of figuring out like, okay, like, well, this is taking a while to like take this back to base. There's probably another base that I could set up somewhere. And sometimes there will be like a boss fight or something in the way that you have to get through. But the difficulty in this game is 100%, I guess, like voluntary. If you beat the main adventure, you don't have to sort of stress yourself out and sort of like put yourself through the fucking 20 level, last dungeon, because doing that, I had no idea it was going to be 20 levels. I wish the game warned me. But, I guess I should have expected the last thing that you're going to do where you're going to save Louis and defeat this dog to be, really, really long. I honestly thought that I was going to lose it out, but I remembered from the night missions, which are great as well. The whole like tower defense thing, the early ones are pretty easy. I still need to go back on some of them and like defeat all of the enemies because I don't know where the fuck they spawned. And I'm like, I still need to beat like 3 enemies or whatever. Anyways, when you beat those, you get those like glowy Pikmin that you can use in the dungeons, and you could turn those into whatever Pikmin flower. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, like. I honestly thought I was going to fucking lose out because I was already down like so many Pikmin. And then I was like, oh, wait, I have like 40 of these glowy guys. So I might as well just use them because this is the last area. This is the last time I'm probably going to, do this shit because honestly, if you're going through the dungeons and you're skipping over shit, you're kind of trolling. I'll be honest. You're fucking trolling, especially with that last one. 20 levels, you got to skip through loot to like just get through it done faster? No, because if you want to 100% it, which obviously like you don't have to, but if you want to and you want to go back to it, good luck, bro. I'm not re-exploring those 20 levels because that shit was honestly like kind of stressful because I was just like, man, this is taking a while. If I miss something, it's gonna be fucked. Obviously, you could always go back in time, even within the normal overworld. You could always go back in time and do that stuff. So this game, very, very friendly to newbies of Pikmin. Definitely start with this one, I would say, especially if you're a little hesitant on like the whole time limit and everything. This game is not as egregious whatsoever with the sort of like pressing you for a time to like, hey, you need to go and get this shit done like right now or whatever. It's really within the Dandori challenges and just like exploring the overworld as a whole.
Yeah, I think the game does a great job just like appeasing to every player. Even if you think the game is like, if you think it starts off too easy, again, I think the later areas do get a bit more difficult. And I think the game also gives you enough options to make it easier. Like Ochi is very overpowered. If you upgrade
Yes.
his charge, and just bum rush someone, all your Pikmin like land on them, so they get stunned and they just die instantly. So that's great.
Yes.
Glow Pikmin are also very strong. You could do like a spirit bomb with them if you hold X and like stuns everyone and just attack them. They're also immune to like almost every type of damage that's not like gain eaten. So that's really good. Glow Pikmin are very strong as well. And purple Pikmin are also still back and they're also just as strong as they were in 2. Like I used the shit out of them in the final dungeon and just like annihilated everything.
Yes.
So I love my purples. So yeah, the game definitely gives you a lot of ways out, just like Pikmin 2 does. But yeah, I think the difficulty balance is just way better in this game than in 2 was. So, and yeah, I don't know. For me, it's my favorite Pikmin game. It offers the most content, the most variety of content. I think the difficulty is just right. And yeah, I think it's just perfect. I think it's really good.
I think it's like the most streamlined Pikmin title we've had so far.
Definitely,
Obviously, it's been 10 years since I've played any of the other ones, but I mean, just like thinking back, I think the one thing I missed the most from Pikmin 3 is just like the 3 captains and just like using the Wii U gamepad to like tell this captain to go to this area and like micromanaging them that way. But, you know, with Pikmin 4, they obviously like simplified it down. And I think it was for the better, you know, because they did introduce new improvements like Ochi. Ochi is fantastic because just because you can have all your Pikmin within one area and you don't have to worry about when you're moving like 100 Pikmin at once. You don't have to worry about one getting stranded, one getting eaten or some bullshit like that because that will happen, especially during the final boss fight with the fucking dog. You know, like if you are not on Ochi, you are trolling because your Pikmin are going to get caught and they're going to die. So
Ochi is very nice to have. But yeah, I think overall, you know, I went into this, you know, when Pikmin 4 was first revealed, I'm like, I guess I'll pre-order it just to have it, you know, like whatever. Like, I guess I'll play Pikmin 3 before it. You know, then they revealed like, oh, we're gonna have Pikmin 1 and 2 remastered on Switch. I'm like, okay. Then I went to playing the whole series, and now I play Pikmin 4. And I honestly think it's like the top 5 of the year. Like, I really enjoyed this game. It really, really impressed me with the amount of content, how polished it is, just like how fun it is. Yeah, it's definitely peak Pikmin, and it's definitely like top 5 of the year. Like, if I had to rate my games at the moment, it'd definitely be like still Tears of the Kingdom, probably Final Fantasy 16, and then like Pikmin 4. Like, I did not expect that. So yeah, very good game.
Yeah, no, I wasn't bullshitting you all these years telling you to play Pikmin.
you weren't. I am a Pikmin believer now. I very much love this series. I think it's really good. You know, if you are scared off of the time limit of Pikmin 1, I think Pikmin 4 does a great job like introducing everyone to Pikmin. That's why I think the tutorial is so long, because they want people that never played Pikmin before to play this. Like, okay, we're gonna teach you everything, because it's a pretty overwhelming series if you're first getting into it. But you know, for us, we've already played all the games before 4. But for new people, I can understand why the tutorial has to be so long. But I do agree it is a bit excessive. But yeah.
And the loading times, but you know, you can't really do much.
That's the Switch, you know.
You can't really do much for the Switch. And sometimes the camera gets a little finicky, but you know, other than that, like, this is like a perfect game because like it runs flawlessly. I don't see any frame rate drops. I don't run
no bugs.
No bugs. I mean, there was one time sometimes Ochi will like get stuck and like try to like block when like Pikmin are like moving shit within like the caves. I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta like call him over here to like make sure. And also another quality of life changes is that when you're calling Pikmin over, it does that thing again where it like double checks if you're actually recalling them back, because if they're like carrying something and you accidentally recall them back, it's like, okay, if you're holding it longer, then they'll come to you. So there's a lot of quality of life stuff here that, you know, will probably make going back to the older Pikmin games a lot harder. But I think that just shows that this series has come a long way, and it has honestly been really, really worth the wait to finally play Pikmin 4, because I still remember after Pikmin 3 came out and Miyamoto was like, we're almost done with Pikmin 4, and I was like, bullshit.
Yeah, capping.
Obviously, the Wii U died, the Switch came out, the Switch is now 6 years old, and here we are. Yeah, no, Pikmin 4 is definitely my favorite game of the year just because I haven't played that many. But, you know, I'm sure that'll change when Spider-Man 2 comes out and all the other games comes out later this year. But, yeah, I highly recommend anyone to really try Pikmin 4. Obviously, this is a spoiler discussion, but this is a great game, honestly. You know, even if you've never played a Pikmin game before, definitely check this out. And then if you want, you can go back to the other titles.
Yeah, Pikmin 4 is really good. Again, very impressed by the game. I loved it. So yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add, good sir?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 118. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.